Yes. That's my ode to Brody Stevens. What's up, brother? How are you?
Mate,
Great to see you.
Mate, I can't believe I'm here again. This is awesome.
I can't believe you're here again, too. I can't believe 5 days ago you were in a world title fight. Look at you. You look great.
Yeah, I was straight after the fight, I had to go to hospital. I spent about 4 hours in hospital. I thought I broke my foot, but luckily all the x-rays came back clear. Swelling's gone down a lot now. So at one stage, I didn't think I was going to be able to fight December the 5th, but it looks like I'm on now with Cyrus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you kick an elbow or something? Do you know?
Kicking
Who knows?
Knees.
Right,
I think I kicked his knees about half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And then it didn't hurt because my face was so jacked up from all the cuts. And then it wasn't until I was getting stitched up that I noticed my foot was starting to go elephantitis.
Expand.
and then once the stitch was done, I Cyborg come into the change room to get a photo with me. And as I stood up to get a photo with her, then I realized the pain was rushing to my foot. It's like, okay, I think my foot's broken. So luckily there was an ambulance there. We got straight into the emergency, and then got on to the painkillers, which took me into a different dimension.
What did they give you? What stuff?
I don't know. That's different names here in America to Australia. But
okay, like oxycodones or something along those lines.
It was straight in with an injection.
And, probably morphine.
Yeah,
that's
and
the good stuff.
This pink elephant came into the room and started chatting to me and said, "Hey, I don't think your foot's not broken, but you are in a different galaxy now. So welcome." No, it's pretty cool.
Was it really a pink elephant, or are you just fucking around?
I could be possibly fucking around.
So you've had 300 and how many stitches in your face?
15 now, 315.
315 now.
I broke 300 about 4 weeks before I got to America with an accident in the gym sparring. And I thought, okay, 300, you beauty. And then Cosmo was polite enough to give me another 2 cuts with another 15 stitches. So now I thought my plateau was 300. So now my next goal, I guess, is 400 because I've already passed the 315.
Oh my goodness!
So,
who's got the most stitches in their face ever in Muay Thai?
Oh mate, that's a good question. I reckon I'd have to be close.
You got to be up there.
I'd have to be. But I'm starting to now. My doctor, he said, because I bring my own doctor with me when I come to fight everywhere around the world, and he said it's just scars breaking on scars now. It's I'm got the Nick Diaz sort of eyebrows. So this one's had at least maybe 80 in it alone. This eye.
One left eye, 80 stitches.
Well, that's the main, because that's the right elbow too coming down. So,
yeah.
So
well, that's the knock on Muay Thai as opposed to Glory, which unfortunately they just lost their deal with Spike TV or canceled their agreement with Spike TV. I don't know what happens, but they pulled Glory off Spike, which is really very disappointing for me as a fan of kickboxing. And I was just hoping that would translate into just to people getting a more understanding in this country of high level kickboxing.
Yeah,
you know.
I was lucky. Glory was the one, and then you had the Lion fight. So I reached out to Scott Kent with the Lion fight, and I said, "Oh mate, is there any chance you can put me on?" I've seen how much exposure they're having with Access TV, and with their deal with everyone in the world is paying attention to the Lion fight right now, and because it's pure Muay Thai as well, I thought this is definitely the show to try and be on to raise the profile. So I jumped on board, and then I'm so devastated that I lost. It was such a tough fight, but at the same time, even though I'm lost and I'm sad, I knew that I gave 100%, and hopefully the crowd was entertained enough to hopefully invite me back, and hopefully Scott was happy with my performance.
Well, it was a great fun fight. But what I was going to say is that Glory doesn't have elbows, and yes. the thing that people worry about with like Lion fight and pure Muay Thai is that there's a lot of cuts.
Yes.
And a lot of people get cut, and primarily get cut by elbows.
Yes.
But the way I look at it is like that is it's an excellent weapon, and if you should be able to kick, or if you're able to kick and you're able to knee to the face and you're able to do all the things that you can in MMA, why can't you elbow in Muay Thai? And why can't you clinch?
Yes. Yeah, exactly the same as MMA. How can you take away the rules and water it down into one sort of category and then call? Yeah, I think it's hard. The same deal when Nathan Corbett came over here.
Yes,
he's the elbow master. And then when he came over here to fight for Glory, he got beaten by Spong. He got beaten by Saki, and everyone's saying, well, but if he had his elbows, that would have changed the
maybe. Who knows?
Yeah,
you'll never know.
Yeah,
but you certainly it makes you think. And, when you're thinking, that's bad. In the cage or in the ring or wherever you're competing, the idea is to train so hard and train exactly how you're going to fight so that it all comes out automatically.
Yes.
And when your automatic instinct for Nathan, I mean, how many fights has he had?
I think close to 70.
Yeah, I mean, think about all those fights that he had throwing elbows. Think about all those training sessions throwing elbows. And then all of a sudden he's in positions where he's like, okay, don't throw an elbow. Because that's normal. You're getting in the clinch and it's just normal for you.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they tell you can't do it. I mean, it's problematic. I mean, it's nice for these guys to be able to have another outlet. I know Tyrone Spong is doing some boxing now, just some straight boxing, which I think probably at least he has shoes on, so he'll be just thinking that he's, like it'll help him not throw kicks and not thinking he can throw elbows and things. But the guys who are the best and the guys who are the best at that particular style of Muay Thai, it'd be great to see them use all their weapons. It'd be great to see them utilize all the techniques of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And you see how technical Muay Thai is.
Yeah.
I don't think people from the outside that are watching it appreciate it for what it really is. It's an incredibly intense and technical martial art.
Yeah, well, Thailand's how many 100 years old? So it's already perfected to the rule set, and then everyone's trying to water it down to make it their own specific sort of rule set, and then but it's not the authentic. When you keep it as it is, it's already the product's already there. You don't have to change it. It's already violent and perfect enough and fast, and so it's a shame that different organizations trying to. But I suppose people don't like the clinch as much. Sometimes they think it's getting a little bit boring. And plus, when you get two guys that aren't at a certain level, it does seem a little bit sort of dull. And it's not entertaining.
But in the early levels. But so does grappling at a very low level. So does a lot of things at a low level.
Yes.
But I don't think you should ever sort of make rules that are dictated just to make people that are at a low level fight in a more fan-friendly, enjoyable way. I think you should just allow the people that are watching it to see the difference between a novice and someone who's an expert, and see someone who uses the clinch to their advantage, and see all the different techniques that can be landed from the clinch, the uses of the knee, the use of the knees, the elbows from the break. There's a lot of beautiful techniques that can be used from the clinch that you don't see, because what Glory has done is sort of adopt the rules of K1, which the Japanese had kind of decided, hey, there's got to be a way to make these guys fight in a more exciting and fast-paced way. Let's make the rounds, let's make the fight shorter instead of having like many rounds, like 10 rounds or 12 rounds or something like that, like a boxing match. Let's just do like 3 rounds and have them go fucking crazy for 3 rounds,
Yeah, when I fought in Europe, I fought in an organization called Super League back in 2003, 2004, and that was the same deal. Again, we're not going to spend airfare money flying you all the way from Australia and get cut in the first round and have the fight stop 60 seconds in. Otherwise, it's a waste of money for us. So we'll keep the knees, we'll keep everything else, but we'll just eliminate the elbows just in case that does happen.
Does Lion Fight do drug testing?
There was no urine test after mine.
Nothing.
So, no.
Wow.
So and then I think they were in Vegas. And now they've moved to Temecula, and then I think they're on the other side as well. I forget the other place they're at, but no, there was no one waiting for a jar for me.
Now, is Temecula it's a casino, right? You guys were at a casino, Pachanga, is that what it is?
Yes.
And is that a Native American reservation where they can do whatever they want? They have their own regulations?
Yes.
They kept martial arts alive, mixed martial arts alive in California.
Okay, yeah.
The Native American reservations did, because they put on King of the Cage in Native American reservations when you couldn't have MMA in California. It was illegal.
Okay.
And so we used to drive out to the middle of nowhere to these very small Native American casinos, and that's where the King of the Cage would be. Yep. And that was like the primary way that's how like Uriah Faber got started. A lot of guys, Quentin Jackson got started. A lot of guys got started in King of the Cage, and in California because of this loophole that allows Native American reservations to put on the fights. But boy, I would like it if they drug tested guys.
Yeah. I definitely feel a lot safer if I knew I wasn't fighting pure animals.
Just dudes juiced to the tits. Well, Cosmo Alexander's a big fella, and he's quite a bit larger than you. The guy that you fought was
he's about 6'3". When they announced him, they said 6'1", but there's no way he's 6'1". When I was looking up at him, when the referee brought us together, it was like looking at Michael Jordan or someone. I was like, holy shit. And then And then once the fight starts too, just trying to bridge that gap to get into his range. It was either as you explode in to try and land your combinations, those knees are flying past your head left and right. It's it just makes it so much harder when they're so big. And the funny thing is, he can make, I think 70s 155. He can cut all the way down.
What?
Yeah, his last fight before he fought me was 71 kilos, and I know before that he's fought at 70. And Benny's not a skinny 70 either. Once he fills right out after a weigh-in, he's still got the muscles and he still looks like a V. So he's and to his credit, I beat him back in 2008. And he's just improved leaps and bounds. The way that he fought me on Friday night, he fought really well. He used his range. He used good power. His power was so crazy. Everything he hit me with was loaded. So yeah, good full credit to him. I tried my best, but yeah, he was just on his game.
Yeah, he looked very, very sharp. There was some great moments in that fight. It's really interesting, man. You have a way of moving, a very, very specific way of moving inside the octagon or inside the ring, rather. If I watched you like just silhouette, if someone showed me a silhouette of you moving, I go, oh, that's John Wayne Parr. Like I could totally tell. It's so interesting. You have your own very specific style of moving, and I would imagine that style is like, I mean, you do a lot of things that other Muay Thai guys do, like you're very light on the front foot, but there's a way you have of throwing punches and combinations and so heavy off that front left leg is very specific to you, you know. And I think that for a lot of guys, that's got to present them. It's very effective, but it's unique. You know, and like in your style of movement, it's like I can't think of another guy. Like if I watch certain guys, I go, oh well, that guy fights like this guy, or he kind of moves a little bit like him, or Thiago Alves is sort of like that guy, or you know, you can kind of do that with a lot of fighters, but not with you. You got this weird sort of unusual timing, you know. Especially that left leg, man. You're like one of the best guys I've ever seen at that front left leg counter, like to the body when a guy's throwing a punch.
Yeah, no, thank you. All that time spending in Thailand, that was one of their main things. It was telling me it's so hard to block off the back leg because that lead leg's so light. The majority of the time, 90% of the people are throwing leg kicks. So you got that lead leg ready, but when it's time to throw the left, it's really hard to block. So I've perfected that left on the pads. I'm throwing that 70% of the time, and my right leg's my power leg. My left leg's my counter. So I'm throwing that more than anything, and then. I started off with a really strong right leg and my left leg was okay, and I just worked at it to make it my main weapon. And now,
it's like a jab for a boxer. Becomes their main weapon.
Yeah, and then as soon as someone comes in to strike, I throw that left leg, and it's not only am I trying to score, but I'm using it as a break to try and stop you from throwing your combinations. Also, if I don't land on your ribs, I'm hitting your arm, so I'm pushing you off balance, so you can't throw the right hand. Or I want to try and break that right hand down, so that's taking the power away from your right punch.
And you're putting weight into it too, and landing with the shin, which also keeps the knee and the thigh bone from you to them. It creates a space.
Yes.
And there's a lot of power to it.
Yes.
Yep. You use that so effectively, man.
And I should have used it more too, because in the after fight speech, Cosmo was saying, "Oh, he was hurting me with that left leg," and then
he said it to the body, right? He said that
on the after fight.
That's right.
And that's like, damn it, I should have used it more. But
there was a couple of unique moments in that fight. One of them was in the third round when you just opened up with this crazy flurry.
Yes.
Like, what was going on there? Did you just have this feeling? Did you just say, I'm just going to put a barrage on this motherfucker and see what happens?
Well, yeah, my theory is if I can get someone covering up, I'm not going to stop. So if the opportunity comes in, if it might take me 30 punches, it might take me 50 punches, but eventually if I can find that gap and I hit you hard enough, I know I can drop you. So I was just trying my hardest to try and land that big one to try and put him down. And I knew that I've done enough work in the gym to throw all night. And my gas tank was full. There was no way I was going to gas. So I just kept throwing, thinking, come on, just land that good one to just give myself an 8 count to get myself back into the game. But I think he wore 30-ish, and then he got it out of the corner and then shrugged it off. And it's like, damn it, now I'm screwed.
Well, it's funny because you see a guy blocking punches and covering up, but guys get knocked out through gloves all the time.
Yes,
yeah, especially with kicks, right?
And then it's I'm also trying to get in your head as well to make you trying to break you down, thinking this guy's a machine. How can I stop him? Yeah, but unfortunately it didn't work. Cosmo was good.
He was very good.
Yeah.
There's another unique moment in the 4th round. You rocked him with a right hand, and then he started like cleaning the bottom of his feet.
Yes.
He was hurt.
Yes.
He was hurt. He's like, oh, something on my foot. Like,
Yeah.
bitch, you just got rocked.
First I thought he lost his mouthpiece.
No.
And then as I seen him sort of, I've gone to jump in and they've whoa, and then I thought he lost his contact. I don't know what was going, but it was a full like no, you're wrong, I'm right. Just a second, and then it's like, oh no, he was fucked. I should have jumped on him, but
he played a little mind game there. It was effective. That's a veteran move.
It's like stop, wait, no.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. It's there goes my opportunity.
And you tried to move in, and the referee got in between
the
you.
referee did
the
it as well.
referee fucked up.
Yeah.
He didn't know what was going on either. He got hustled as well.
Yeah, so to his credit, he pulled that move. Yeah, that could have been my shot.
Well, you could tell, too, because after that, he wasn't the same. And then in the 4th round, or the 5th round, rather, you came on strong in the 5th round. The 5th round was all you. Because I think you hurt him bad in that 4th round. I think you stung him. That's the only reason why a guy would ever do like a con move like that. Like, hold on, man, I got to clean the bottom of my feet. Like, the fuck are you talking about? You don't get to clean the bottom of your feet. The guy stops.
Yeah.
There's no timeouts in kickboxing.
It was very strange. And then we were chatting afterwards, and you came into the change room, and we had our chat. And then he goes, oh, man, you wouldn't believe it. The very last punch you threw, you broke my nose. Now I can't breathe. So as I've gone into the hospital to the emergency, he was in one of the other rooms getting his nose put back together. So,
well, you could see his nose leaking when he was talking to Pat Miletich. His nose was leaking. But he's a tough guy, and it seems like a really, really nice guy, too.
We've fought each other 3 times now, and then we've also fought on the same cards here in Jamaica and Australia and a few other places, and nicest bloke. He's just the most genuine. And then even when we got put together for this fight, we were messaging each other privately on Facebook and just talking about different things. So there's no animosity. It's just business.
Right.
He's got to get paid. I got to get paid. We beat
and
each
competition.
other.
It's competition.
We beat each other up, and then at the end of it, again, we go in each other's change room. We high five. Good fight. Thank you very much.
That's interesting because that's a big part of fighting. Is the camaraderie between fighters, but also a big part of fighting is the mental game when there is no camaraderie, when guys are fucking with each other and it becomes emotional. And there's a lot of fighters that have been tripped up by emotions. Like Donald Cerrone was on the podcast, and we were talking about his fight with Nate Diaz. And Nate Diaz talked all kinds of crazy shit to him, knocked his cowboy hat off, called him every fucking name in the book. And then when they fought, Donald was all fucked up emotionally. He was so emotionally invested in beating this guy's ass and not losing to this guy that he just couldn't perform at his best. He just was so tied up. And Conor McGregor, he does that to everybody.
Yeah,
he fucks with you so hard. By the time you get in there, you don't even know who you are. He's got you convinced you're a totally different person. You just want to kill him, and then you can't even hit him. It's like it's such a mind fuck when you wind up hating someone.
Yes.
So in that sense, it's got to be a pleasure when you meet a gentleman like Cosmo Alexander, who's a great fighter as well. And you don't have to think about all that jazz. You can just be yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm very lucky with the sport. I haven't had any Conor McGregors or Nick Diaz's that I've faced.
Ever in all your fights?
There was one time I was on a television show called The Contender, and then there was a French gentleman that was sort of getting under everyone's skin, and he was talking a lot of smack. But at the same time,
what was that guy's name?
Rafik.
Yeah.
Rafik, and then everyone was coming up to me saying, you got to knock this bloke out, you got to knock this bloke out. And then even the film crew were coming behind the scenes saying, oh, you got to knock this bloke out, you got to get this guy off this show. Because as soon as on our show, as soon as you lost, you went home.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a lot of pressure on myself and then again, the harder you try and knock someone out, the less it happens. And then the more mentally drained you get too, because why haven't I knocked him out yet? Instead of thinking, okay, just do the business, then if something lands, then it goes down. But when the harder you try, the less it happens. Then the more frustrated you get, then the more tired you get because you're mentally drained. So it's a tough gig.
It's that way with everything, man. It's that way with everything. As soon as you get emotionally invested in something like that, and just you're dealing with that other thing, which is even bigger and more central to your thoughts than your actual task at hand. You're dealing with this talk jazz, blah blah blah, which is you're gonna fight I mean, you're gonna engage in the most intense form of competition ever, and you're concentrating on this bullshit, like talking bullshit. Like, what difference does it make what we say if we're gonna fight? Well, the difference is if you can fuck with a guy's emotions, he can't fight good. It's crazy.
At the weigh-in with Cosmo at the airport, I bought myself a little boomerang souvenir, and then I presented that to Cosmo at the weigh-in, and then we hugged and shook hands and took a photo with the boomerang, and it was just a gentleman gesture. It's like, oh well, at least you're going to remember me. But then you look at the UFC, and then you got Dana White standing in the middle, and they're holding guys back. It's like, well, 24 hours time, you're going to punch each other in the face anyway. So why all this acting?
Yeah.
Like, it's not. And then same with Conor McGregor and Aldo. Every time they get together, it's like, well, technically you can't really do it now. You're both going to get in a lot of trouble, or you're going to get fined by either the commission or Dana or UFC, or so just. Can't you just be? I know it sells tickets too. I know it's riveting. It's so you can't not watch it. You can't not tune into the websites and the replays. But yeah, I suppose being a gentleman sometimes can be boring compared when you look at it like that.
It's kind of a catch-22, right? It's like, because you can make a lot of money by being an asshole.
Yes.
Right? I mean, God, people pay attention to you. It becomes this huge media selling point. It's the story. And look, the John Jones-Daniel Cormier fight, I do believe that John Jones is the best light heavyweight on the planet. And I think he beat Daniel Cormier because he's incredibly skillful and because he's just so good. But I also believe that Daniel Cormier was fucked up going into that fight emotionally, because John had talked so much shit to him. They got in a fight at the weigh-ins where they like literally were throwing punches at each other, and they had to be separated. It was a giant brawl. It wasn't a weigh-ins, rather. It was a press conference.
Yeah.
Giant brawl at the press conference, knocking people over, throwing shoes at each other. I mean, it was madness. But John can handle that stuff better than Daniel can. Like, yes. John can still perform at the same level under those circumstances. I don't think Daniel did. Yep.
Yeah, no, that was insane. That was crazy. Yeah. That was crazy.
Well, that's Conor too. I mean, part of what Conor's doing is fucking with people. Like, that's what Muhammad Ali did to Sonny Liston.
Yes.
When Muhammad Ali first fought Sonny Liston, he was screaming and yelling at him so bad at the weigh-ins that they weren't going to let him fight, that they thought there was something wrong with him, because his heart rate was so crazy and his blood pressure was so high. They were worried that, like, this guy's not fit to fight.
Yep.
And then he calmed down. He's like, just relax, guys. Go ahead. I know what I'm doing. I'm just fucking with this dude. And it turned out that he knew that Sonny Liston, although he's terrifying and he's this massive hard puncher and knocked everybody dead, he was scared of crazy people.
Yeah.
And that's what Muhammad Ali did. He just acted like a fucking crazy person. He used to drive to Sonny Liston's house, and he would park his car on Sonny Liston's lawn and yell out at him in the middle of the night. Just yell at him.
Really?
Get up, Sonny. I'm going to kick your fucking ass, Sonny. He would say all kinds of crazy shit. Sonny Liston, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
Sonny Liston, I'm the man. I'm the champ. The champ is here. He would say all kinds of crazy shit on the lawn. Like, on his fucking lawn while the guy's trying to sleep.
He's doing the Shannon Briggs.
Yeah, well, what Shannon Briggs does now, yeah. Shannon Briggs is hilarious, isn't he? Let's go, champ! Do you pay attention to his Instagram? It's amazing.
I was for a while, but then it's on loop. It's pretty much every single video you watch is exactly the same, whereas Ali had a bit of class about it. Or same as Conor. Conor's a genius as well.
Oh, yeah.
The breakout the red panties, like, that's gold. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, break out the red panties, yeah. If you're fighting me, break out the red panties, honey. We made it. Yeah, no, he's a genius. Conor is the best shit talker ever.
How do you even think of that? You're lying in bed, laying on your pillow thinking, you know what? Yeah, what colour panties should my missus wear when we... The red ones. The red ones are probably the best ones.
I don't even think he's thinking it. I think that's just him. I think he's just free and just thinks that way, you know? He's just an amazing shit talker. He's so good at it.
Yeah, I talked to Hans a fair bit between the last couple of days, and he reckons he's such a good guy.
Hans Molenkamp?
Yeah. Hans said when you talk to him one-on-one, he said he's just the nicest, politest gentleman you'll ever meet. and then you put him in front of a stage, and especially in front of those crowds that they're pulling at the weigh-ins and press conferences, and then he just shines and just becomes this different animal, which is a marketing genius at the same time too. They're just a brilliant entrepreneur that's going to be set up for life.
And he wasn't like that earlier in his career. You know, he became like that really when he got to the UFC. I mean, he had a hair of that before. He had a little bit of that before, where he was confident and he would talk well. And I've been following Conor for years. I tweeted him a long time ago, like several years ago, back when he was fighting in England, I believe it was. I think it was England. I'm not sure. Fighting in some overseas organization. I watched it on YouTube. And I was like, this guy's fucking talented. He's talented. He's got a clean left hand, too. His left hand power punch, woof, that's a fucking good night Irene punch, man.
From the southpaw.
Yeah, he's so good at measuring guys, too. Very good at measuring. And he has a very off-speed movement. His movement is unusual, very difficult to time. That's one of the things I was thinking about when I was watching you fight. Unusual movement. You know, it's a very very difficult thing for guys to deal with. Like a lot of fighters will tell you that sparring with a person who has a very traditional style is almost like comforting sometimes. But when you spar with a guy who might not even be as skillful, but is doing things all wrong, but has a lot of power, like does things like real weird, like the guy who just fought Sugar Shane Mosley, that crazy guy who smokes cigarettes from Nicaragua.
Mayorga.
Yeah, Ricardo Mayorga.
Yep.
Ricardo Mayorga is a perfect example. When he used to fight the late, great Vernon Forrest, he beat that dude because Forrest couldn't deal with his weird, crazy punches coming from everywhere. It was madness. Those punches were coming from, like, behind his calf and over the top and hit you on the nose. Like, what the fuck? Like, everything was winking and wild and with murderous intentions. It was so street, you know? Everything, it was not, like, skillful. It was not like fighting, like a Roberto Duran, who was, like, incredibly skillful, but also, like, raw, too, you know? With Ricardo Mayorga, everything was awkward. It's like you didn't know what the fuck. You couldn't get into this rhythm. Like, when you see, like, two very skillful boxers fight, you know, you see they're looking for openings, they're probing, but you see, like, a common rhythm or a rhythm that you've seen before, you know? It's a conventional way of moving.
Yeah, same in Bangkok. You watch two professional Thais and they're training identical. So when you put them against each other, now you're watching a chess game.
Yeah.
And then now, well, back in the 90s anyway, then you chuck in your Raymond Deckers or luckily for myself, you throw in the hands because they weren't really boxing back then.
Right.
And all of a sudden you've thrown out the rhythm because all of a sudden they're like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah, Ramon Deckers used to do everything hard. Everything hard. Every fucking punch was murder. Every kick was murder.
Yes.
But see, the difference between you and him was that you've fought smart enough to get to 39 years old and still can fight in world title fights.
Yes.
Whereas by the time he was in his late 30s, his body had just been destroyed.
Yes.
He destroyed his ankles. Like, they say that by the time he had his last few fights, like, his ankles were so bad that his doctors told him, if you break your ankle again, we might have to amputate your foot.
Yeah.
And so he switched his stance. He started kicking with his other leg. But then the fight would get heated up, and he'd go, fuck it. And he would go right back and throw that same kick over and over again, just slam into guys' arms, slam into their knees, slam into their shin.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the king. I said that last time too. He's still the king. I still think he's.
Oh, he was amazing, man.
Pound for pound, the greatest ever. He was the man. He's someone I'm trying to implement still. And I said that last time too. My whole every single time I have a fight, I'm trying to emulate, trying to walk in his footsteps to become the next him. So
now, how have you gotten to 39 years of age, though? I mean, with all your cuts and all that stuff, but you don't have any injuries that have stopped you from competing at the world-class level.
Just luck. I've been so fortunate to have good genetics, and I still have the passion. I still wake up every morning at 5:30. I'm on the road at 6:30. I'm still running 12Ks. I'm still hitting the pads just as hard. I'm still doing massive rounds. For this last prep, I was running 100 kilometers a week. I ran for 10 weeks. So I ran 1,000 kilometers for this camp. So that's morning and night all together.
What is that in American?
600 miles.
600 miles.
So 600 miles for over 10 weeks.
That's a lot of fucking miles, dude.
9 rounds on the pads.
Sounds better when you say 1,000, though.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Kilometers are better.
I should go to meters. But 9 rounds on the pads. I was two boxing, 5 Thai, 2 or 3 leg shields.
Wow.
And then I'm still running with the young kids. I'm still sparring the young guys in Australia. I've got a couple of young gentlemen, Jake Lund and Elliot Compton, that come to the gym on Saturdays. They're in their early 20s. I'm still holding my own with them, and they're like the best prospects Australia has, and I'm not losing. So,
do you think that that's because of your passion? Do you think that's because of your enthusiasm, that you truly love Muay Thai? And I know you do. I mean, to you, it's just like, it's so exciting and invigorating and fulfilling. And do you think that that's what happens to fighters first, that the waning enthusiasm even before the body starts to fail?
I'm not sure. No, because I've had other students that because I run the gym, I've had guys that have had 30, 40 fights that are world beaters, but their shoulder pops or their knee goes or their ankles goes, and then it's not, they have to retire. It's not a case of they want to, they have to. Where I've been so fortunate that my knees are intact, my shoulders are good, I've had a few problems with my hands, but nothing really to stop me. I'm just
surgeries with your hands at all?
No, nothing. I
Just
have
a
no
few breaks?
surgeries. I've just had stitches, just lots and
No
lots
surgeries at
lots
all?
and lots and lots of stitches. But besides that, I'm just so blessed that no. And then besides good genetics and the passion, that's I just want to. My life from the time I was 4 years old, all I wanted to be was a martial artist, and now I'm getting older and I know that my time is coming. I don't want to stop. I want to ride the wave all the way until I pass. But I know I can't, but I want to. If I had my way, I'd fight to the very day that I go to my grave.
Are you more careful now that you're 39 years old? Are you more careful now about your diet, about rehabilitation, about those kind of things?
I'm more aware about losing weight before a fight. Before I was trying to do it Thai way. I was trying to lose 10 kilos in 3-4 days. Now I'm doing it over a 10-week period, so I'm only losing those last few kilos in the 2 days prior to the weigh-in.
Do you think that, though, when you're fighting a really big guy like Cosmo Alexander, who most likely lost a shitload of water weight the day before the fight and then IV rehydrated, which is legal in Muay Thai still, not legal in MMA anymore, at least in the UFC. Do you think that is that it's a detriment to you, though?
This one, I went up a weight division also.
Right,
I usually fight at middle. Well, still the boxing
160 middleweight,
the boxing weight division.
And this was 168,
167.
67.
So because I was flying to America, I didn't want to starve myself on the plane. I didn't want to get here, and I didn't want to have to put the sweatsuit on. I didn't want to sauna. So I only had to lose 2 kilos, 6 pounds. So that's nothing. So and then come weigh-in time, I felt comfortable, but then come fight time, the size difference was like, oh my god.
It was different, but it's interesting that you were the one who was coming on in the 4th and 5th round. You know,
my fitness, I wanted it so. I can't remember how long it's been since I've wanted a world title so bad. I've been very fortunate enough to win 10, but I wanted this one because, like I was saying last time I was here, I want to try and reach. I've been lucky enough to be famous in Australia and be famous in Thailand and make my name in Japan, but America is like the last frontier where I haven't really sort of excelled, or I wanted that title to say, America, this is me.
Right.
And then I lost, and it's like but I hope I put an entertaining fight enough.
Oh, you definitely did. You definitely did. How many titles does Lion Fight have? How many divisions? Do they have a 160?
160, yes. I believe Yodson Glow holds that. Oh no, it was that other young Thai kid that I forgot his
Joe
name.
Nanawat?
Possibly.
I think that's
yes.
He's one of the stars in Lion Fight. I personally think that Lion Fight has some of the best skilled kickboxers in the world today.
Yeah,
I really enjoy watching those shows. I mean, especially they'll bring in some Thais that are just murderous.
Yes.
And the level of Muay Thai that they show, like, you get to see this beautiful execution of the style.
Jarina that just fought on the semi-main, from Holland.
She's amazing.
She was, and then her fight against Cyborg. I didn't hear about her until she fought Cyborg, and then I was really intrigued to see how Cyborg would fight against in pure Muay Thai rules. And then the Dutch girl came and said, who was this? And then it's like, whoa.
She's a beast.
There's the difference of pure Muay Thai against pure MMA. It was just, it was beautiful to watch.
Jorina Barsh is her name, and she's tall and long. You know, Dutch people are among some of the tallest Europeans. The average height is 6 feet tall. They're very big people. you know, and Jorina is like probably one of the most technical women in the world when it comes to Muay Thai, and that you got to see that in that fight with Cyborg. I mean, when she push kicked her in the face and knocked her down, I mean, she's a beast, man. She's a beast.
Do you believe it has anything to do with the nutrients that are in pancakes?
Pancakes?
Don't the Dutch
pancakes?
don't the Dutch people like pancakes and you smoke some pigs?
I don't know. Do they? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it probably has to do with marijuana.
Possibly.
Marijuana's making them grow. No, I think it's just, you know, probably hardy people, you know, hardy. It gets cold as fuck there. You know, the strong survived. It's like Vikings. Why are they so fucking big? Like those people in Iceland that always win those strongest man competitions. Why is that? Why is all these Iceland guys that keep winning? But when you see them, you go, oh, yeah, I get it. It's a fucking Viking. That's a Viking that made it to 2015 with some Viking genes.
They've got nothing else to do besides pick up big boulders and put them 100 meters down the road.
But it's interesting what you said, though, about Jorina when she fought Cyborg, because I'll tell you what, you know, I was super impressed with her technique and super impressed with her skill level, but I was impressed with Cyborg's grit and determination because she was getting her fucking ass kicked, and she hung in there, and she kept trying to win that fight. She kept chasing that girl down, and she was getting beat. She was getting beat, and she was losing, and she was technically outmatched. You know, I think there's a difference in someone who's really good at hitting things hard and someone who's really good at Muay Thai, someone who's really good at setting things up.
Yes.
You know, and I think that what she can do better than Cyborg is set things up technically, you know, and it's not that Cyborg can't learn that. She certainly can. But when you see someone who's used to like takedowns and submissions and dealing with little gloves and dealing with fighting people that are nowhere near her technical level, that was without a doubt the best striker Cyborg's ever faced. Because she's been fighting girls that literally there have been assaults. You know, you've seen a lot. Like the toughest girl she ever fought was Gina Carano.
Yes.
And, you know, that was a good fight. It was a good fight up until Cyborg started beating her down. But the level of Muay Thai, like in something like Lion Fight, like who's the girl who fought Jorina this past weekend? She's very good.
Marina.
From Czech.
Yes.
Yeah, from the Czech Republic. All apologies, I forget her name, but she was very good as well, very tough. But that was a pleasure to watch that fight because those girls were very technical, you know.
What Jorina brought to the table with the Cyborg fight was a lot of front kicks to the face, which I don't think MMA people use as effectively because they can't use it because of the catches and the takedowns, and also the straight up knees because Jorina is so tall.
Yeah.
What a normal person would throw to the body, she can throw to the face, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have those two different elements coming at you, and then and that's what kept landing over and over. They kept dropping her, especially when she was holding the ropes and teeping in the corner, and straight. And Cyborg was rushing in to try and knock her out and running straight into those front kicks. So.
Yeah, she throws it to the body well too. She did that in this fight too.
Yeah,
she throws that front kick to the body real well, and she follows it up with nice straight punches. And she's so long.
So long. Yep.
She keeps you at the end of her punches. Yeah, I get frustrated when I see that Muay Thai is not more popular in the United States. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I'm not the only one because the big thing that everybody always says about MMA, which of course I disagree with because I have a background in jiu-jitsu, but that when it goes to the ground that it's boring. I don't think it's boring because I understand what's happening, and to me it's fascinating. I want to see like a guy like Damian Maia when he takes guys down and strangles them. To me that's beautiful. That's art. I want to see like how he's setting things up. You know, when he fought Neil Magny in his last fight, I couldn't wait to interview him because he made some adjustments on the ground and took the guys back, and the guy was defending in the first round. I was like, "What adjustment did you make? Like, and he was explaining it to me, and I could see the technique and the art in his words. Like, to him, it was a problem to be solved, and that's I see that in Muay Thai too, and I think for everybody that. Like the meatheads that watch MMA, oh, I hate when it goes to the ground. Well, why don't you like Muay Thai then?
Yeah.
Why isn't Muay Thai like the biggest, most popular combat sport in the world? Because it's all stand-up. And if you watch Lion Fight, man, you might see 5-6 knockouts a night. Like Dream Killer Bolanos, that fucking kid with his spinning elbow KO in his last fight. Holy shit. Yeah. Wild stuff, man. You know, it's just, I think also like Access TV is one of those weird stations. Mark Cuban owns it. It's at the end of the dial on DirecTV. You can't fucking find it. You know, I mean, I think that it's one of those things where somehow or another there has to be a consciousness shift where people have to be able to appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what that shift is. I don't know how to make that shift. I don't know what it would be that would cause it to get on some big event on television. You know, Yodson Clyde. Maybe you and Yodson Clyde again.
Oh,
Again.
Shit. You trying to get me killed?
Come on, you beat him.
Well, I was lucky. I was very lucky.
Get outta here.
Australian judges, I was lucky.
You're too kind.
I think
Too humble.
I just needs exposure, because
Yeah, I think you're right.
what I've realized is like, I think I said this last time as well. The UFC is so good at making superstars, and then when you, for instance, Gloria Lion fight, you can say it's Tyrone Spong is fighting Gurkensaki, for instance.
Amazing.
Nobody knows who they are besides the hardcore Muay Thai guys. But
amazing
because MMA is so big, everyone knows the Cowboy Cerrones, everyone knows the George St. Pierre's. So when they fight, you already know their history. You already know this guy is a killer. This guy is going to talk shit. This guy is it's just.
But you know what? That's only been the case for 10 years.
Yeah, true.
In 2005, when Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin fought on Spike TV, nobody knew who the fuck those guys were.
Yep.
They were fighting so hard that at one point in time, I believe the statistic was 10 million people were watching that fight, which for a cable TV fight was fucking insane. And the reason why so many people watched it is they started watching it. It was like 3 million people or something like that, because it was the finals of Spike TV. And during the fight, the numbers went up like substantially.
Yep.
And they believed that people were literally calling people up and going, you got these crazy white motherfuckers are beating the shit out of each other on Spike TV. Go turn this on right now. And they literally believed that it was through word of mouth during the fight that changed MMA history.
Yep.
Because during that fight, because it was so crazy and so wild, and those guys just put the pedal to the metal and went nuts for the entire fight. And they were so evenly matched that after it was over, a sport was made. I mean, a sport was made by one fight. That's not an exaggeration, because to this day, although it was a great performance by Diego Sanchez, nobody talks about Diego Sanchez versus Kenny Florian.
Yep.
Diego Sanchez fought Kenny Florian for the 185-pound title on that same night, and Diego took Kenny down and beat the shit out of him, stopped him.
Yep.
But nobody talks about that fight. It was the fight between those two guys, between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner, that literally made MMA.
Yes.
And from then on, the numbers just started going crazy.
Yep.
Like, everybody started tuning in, and it just picked up. And then the Ultimate Fighter took off, and then it picked up more and more and more and more. And then it became a huge sport. But it literally was born out of one event.
Yep.
We need something like that for Muay Thai.
Yes.
We need something like that for kickboxing. One big thing where people go, holy shit. And if that can happen, I think, and you also need a promoter like Dana White and owners like the Fertittas. You need some powerful organization that's got balls and money and really gets behind it. And then you need a lot of luck.
Yes. Well, that's it. I don't know how K1 fucked up, because they had everything. They had the
Yakuza. Sorry.
They had the money. They had the TV. They had the slow motions. They had the highlights.
They had the missing
walkouts.
Fingers. They had the dudes with the body suits, the body tattoos. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
They were gigantic in Japan.
Since they've disappeared, it's like, where do we go? Where does the kickboxing go? If I'm a young kid and I'm watching the TV, UFC is the only way to go. So, hey, do you want to be a Muay Thai fighter? Well, why? Why I can be on a cereal box, or now it's gone so far that you can be a legitimate household name. Whereas in Muay Thai, you might get a few little medals or trophies to put on your pool room, but there's no one driving Mercedes Benzes as a Muay Thai fighter.
No,
there's not even $100,000 payday for a Muay Thai guy. If you get 10 grand, you're like, yeah, 10 grand, but I still got to go to work Monday.
Yeah.
So,
and for women, it's even crazier. I mean, think about the small group of talent, the depth of talent in women's MMA. Like, there's a perfect example. The UFC 115-pound strawweight champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, is a Muay Thai champion, 6-time world Muay Thai champion. And she's just murdering chicks, just murdering them. Yeah, she's nasty.
She's business.
She is so nasty. But other than her, you have a bunch of people in her division that are really, honestly, there's a few with some experience that are getting better, but they're not world championship level.
Yes.
You know, they're just, and if you're a girl who wants to make it in fighting, and you look at the pool of talent that's in the UFC right now in the women's division, especially 115-pound division, you're going to be compelled to try to make it there.
Yep.
At 135, you get that murderer Ronda Rousey flipping bitches on their heads and shit, snapping arms. That's a tough one because she's so advanced. You know, she's so advanced that she's just smashing everybody they put in front of her. So that's a tough one because you would have to learn how to grapple at a very high level to even be able to hang in there with her. And now her striking is getting way better too, so it becomes problematic. But what is the one thing that no one's ever done to Ronda Rousey?
Strike.
Kick the shit out of her legs.
Strike, yeah.
Strike, keep her away, stuff the takedown and kick the shit out of her legs. We haven't seen that at all, at all. We've seen no... How much would you like to see a world championship level Muay Thai fighter like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who's fighting at a natural 135, who fights Ronda Rousey?
Yes.
Someone who comes out there and you see this like super high level striking game with good takedown defense and sprawls. Now you got to fight.
Yeah.
Now you got some crazy shit happening.
Well, that's what we were supposed to expect with Kate Zagano. That was supposed to happen in February.
Yeah, but Kat Zingano's not world class in Muay Thai.
But then the bell went.
She's tough.
The bell went,
Yeah.
and she ran in. She
Yeah.
dove into her arms.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you?
fucked up.
She's gonna be laying in bed for a very
fucked
long
up.
time. Going, what did I do?
Well, Kat Zingano also, you have to think, has never fought in that stage before. That stage itself is just such a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Like you're standing in that octagon, the bright lights, the cameras are on you, and you're like, what? You know, I mean, that's probably half the reason why she made that mad, crazy bum rush across the octagon and just wanted to attack her.
Yeah, yeah. I heard the same thing from Faraz when I was training with George. He says people don't understand that they fight in the prelims, and then because George has done it so many times, he's so used to the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the guys that are fighting George, and then all of a sudden it's 5-5s. You're on the posters. You're doing all the media. And then you have to walk out in front of that 25,000 people or whatever, the MGM or
how about when he fought in Toronto?
Or Toronto.
60.
So
60,000.
And you're the bad guy.
In Canada.
And then the pressure just breaks them before they even walk. Well, breaks them probably weeks in advance. And then the day comes, you think you can handle it, and the day comes, and then you implode on the inside.
Or not. Or you're like John Jones. You fight Shogun in your first world title fight. You're 24 years old and you beat his ass.
Yep.
You stop him and everybody goes, holy shit, look at this guy. I mean, I think John was 23 actually, now that I think about it. He was the youngest ever UFC champion. And I believe that Josh Barnett won the UFC heavyweight title when he was 24. So I think John, I might be off by this, but I think John was 23.
Yep.
But that's a special guy. You know, John just a special competitor. And I think that for someone like Kat Zingano, that media pressure is just as much pressure. Having all those people ask you, what's it like? What's it going to be like when you get in there? How are you going to win? How are you going to beat Ronda? What are you going to do about her arm bars? You know, I mean, think about that. What are you going to do about her arm bar? Oh, I'm not worried about that. Fucking 15 seconds in, you're arm barred.
The only question.
Yeah, and then you get arm barred.
Times that by 10,000 times over a period of 3 months prep.
Yeah, it's a mind fuck.
Yeah, it drive you insane.
But I think someone like Joanna, who is a world champion already, she's so used to competing at an incredibly high level, and then she had to get like her bearings in the UFC. She had that one really tough fight with Claudia Gadelha where it was neck and neck, very, very close fight. And then from then on, she's gone to just dominate. Yes. And I think that a woman like that, like if you could find someone like that at 135, it would be very interesting because although Ronda is getting better at striking, you very rarely, if ever, see her throw kicks. It's very rare.
Yes.
And for someone who's a good Muay Thai fighter, man, that is... And also, Ronda has had problems with her knees. You know?
I think you have to find someone that can fight going backwards as well. Because as soon as that bell rings, Ronda charges across the cage. And then anyone that's silly enough to stand in front of her and think they can strike standing on the spot, they're going to get taken down straight away. Yeah. So you're gonna have to be mobile. Otherwise, she's going to grab you and flip you upside down and on your head and inside out. And then
you're also going to have to be world class as an athlete, and I think that she is. But I don't think anybody she's ever fought is, except maybe Sarah. You could say, well, who is not Alexis Davis, but Sarah McMahon. Was that her name? The Olympic gold medal, the Olympic silver medalist in wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah, she was obviously an excellent wrestler. So you've got that. She was obviously an excellent wrestler, but as an MMA fighter, there's like some holes in her game, and she's not very good off of her back either. She gets put on her back and she doesn't do so well. But I think she's a winner overall. Like that's like the most important thing. Like that person, like the John Jones mentality, the person who just knows how to win and is not going to get rattled by the pressures, not going to get rattled by all the hype and all the bullshit talk, and is going to be able to go in there and perform at their maximum level. Ronda obviously can do that, and she even said, recently she said the more fucked up and crazy her life is, the more fucked up and crazy things are, the better she fights.
Hey.
Which is just nuts.
Her last fight with Beth, that right hand you landed, you've never seen another girl knock out another girl with a single punch like that. That was insane.
Not in MMA, at least. The only time I've ever seen that in kickboxing. Well, you know what? Holly Holm has knocked some bitches dead with head kicks.
Head kicks, but a single right hand, that was nasty. And
it was nasty.
It wasn't like she just a flash knockdown either.
Yeah.
She was out.
Oh, she was dead.
She was dead.
Well, she was hurt already, and then she tagged her. What was fucked up is she tagged her with the right hand. Then as she's going down, Ronda was already throwing the left.
Yep.
And the left landed too as her body was already giving out.
Yes.
That was nasty. That was a wake-up call to a lot of people that she's like learning how to strike too. But with all due respect, Betch Correia is a brawler. Like her technique it's not that good.
Yes.
She throws like kind of arm punches, and she's like physically like bulldogish. She's tough and strong, but she's not. She's not moving like Jacek. You know what I'm saying? Like she's not moving like an elite striker. She's throwing barrages of punches, and the pressure for her must have been off the fucking charts in Brazil, fighting Ronda Rousey, talking so much shit. And then she fucked up and talked about Ronda's dad and suicide and all that. And
that was
and
bad.
the Brazilians kind of turned on her for that.
Yeah.
And then at the weigh-ins, the Brazilians were cheering Ronda, which never happens. Like that's how much she's transcended. She can go to Brazil, and then the Brazilians will cheer her. I've never seen that in my life.
Wait till she hits Australia. She's a global phenomenon. She's amazing. I think once she hits Australia, I think the amount of support she's going to get there is going to be off the charts as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be. And then
I just wish Holly had more fights. In the UFC.
I was going to ask you on the side, what do you think about that fight? And I think a little bit early for poor Holly, but she's an amazing boxer. She's to win so many world titles in boxing.
Oh yeah.
And then that head kick's a killer too. But,
well, it's not that I don't think that Holly is capable. One of those things I said is like I don't think that's a smart fight, because I want to see her fight some more people. I want to see her fight Misha Tate. I want to see her fight, fill in the blank, Amanda Nunes. I want to see her fight some tough girls and put on a show, and then have everybody like clamor for it.
Yeah, I believe you've mentioned Amanda before.
Yeah,
she's a terror. She's awesome.
She knocked out Sarah McMahon in her last fight.
She was awesome.
She's a beast, dude.
Yeah, and you can tell she wants it too. She's not in there to be a statistic. She wants that title belt bad.
It is Sarah McMahon, right? Am I saying that? Make sure I'm right. I'm almost positive I am, but for whatever reason, I see her face in front of me, and for whatever reason, Sarah seems like I fucked up.
Hey.
I have too many names in my head, man. I really do. It is right. Thank you. But I think Holly is physically very capable, without a doubt, and technically very capable, without a doubt. Should be the best striker Ronda's ever faced.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yes.
It's whether or not she can keep the fight standing, she can keep Ronda off her, whether she could deal with the pressure. When she goes out there and there's 70,000 fucking people.
It's going to be insane.
That's 10,000 more than we've ever done before.
Yeah.
So, and it's already almost sold out, I think. It's crazy.
From fighting main events in Albuquerque to come into Australia and fighting in front of our biggest football stadium in Melbourne.
And to look across the octagon at that blonde demon coming out to that fucking Joan Jett song. Jesus Christ.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone call her the blonde demon before.
She's a demon, dude. There's no question about it. When you're locked in that thing with her and she goes after those girls, that's a demon. So after we did the podcast in February, I was lucky enough to go to the UFC here in the Staples Center, and then we went to the weigh-in, and it was very cool. And then so Edmund and Ronda were walking down the driveway to come into the hotel,
And as a fanboy, I had my iPhone. I was like, oh, should I go ask for a photo? Should I ask for a photo? I thought, oh, fuck it, why not? And then I've shimmied over like a little scared little boy and said, oh, excuse me, Ron, do you mind if I get a picture? And she goes, oh, sorry, no photos until after the fight. And then Edmund had his arm around her, and he's looked at me, and then he stopped her, and he goes, hey, this is the guy. This is the guy. And she's looked at Edmund and is going, oh, so this is the guy. And goes, this is the guy. So he's pushed her into my arms and said, oh, you got to get a photo with him. This is the guy.
Well, Edmund knows who you are for sure.
Yeah, he was amazing. So then we took a photo, and she's amazing. She's such a cool person.
Yeah.
I was so scared. I was so starstruck. And then she was just normal. And then afterwards, I come down and got a couple of drinks at the hotel bar there, and Edmund was there, and he made his way over to come and have a chat to me, and then we just talked like we're long lost friends. He was such a gentleman as well. He was such a nice guy.
People they have for whatever reason there's a misconception about what he's like. I think part of it's the Armenian thing. Armenians are just they're so masculine. And they have this certain way about them that a lot of people, they misread that, They're just, they're fun people, man. They're very proud, very fun people. I'm a fan of Armenians. I really like them.
Because I seen The Ultimate Fighter too, so I was expecting a certain sort of presence. Mm-hmm. But then when it was just...
he's a gentleman.
He's awesome. He was so cool.
He's a gentleman.
And then we just started talking about Muay Thai and fighting. And then actually my wife used to fight on the same cards as him back in the day when he was competing. So,
Where did he compete? Did you ever see him compete?
No, they fought on the same cards here in Cali.
In Buena Park?
Buena Park.
That's when you know you're fucked. Fighting him. Just kidding. Buena Park. He's done some great things with other fighters too. Like he's really improved Travis Brown's hands.
Yep.
He's done some real good work with him. Like you saw in Travis Brown's fight against Brendan Shaw, you saw some sharp combinations. But then again, he got knocked out by Arlovsky in the fight afterwards. But that was just chaos. But I'd heard that, like, in the gym, it's an interesting dynamic between fighters. Like, sometimes fights are, like, when you look at guys on paper, like Travis was ranked number 3 in the world, and Arlovsky wasn't. Arlovsky was a guy that everybody thought was at the end of his time. But Arlovsky has been a world-class striker for a long time.
Yes.
Arlovsky had been a heavyweight champion in the UFC, had a nasty power in his punches, nasty right hand. And in the gym, there's no pressure. In the gym, he could be himself. And in the gym, he had been used to bullying Travis around, apparently. He had been beating Travis up when they had sparring sessions. That was what the word was. So that when they'd gotten into the octagon together, like for everybody else, it was like, man, Arlovsky's got a tough fight. But for him, it's like, I've sparred this guy 100 times. I'm going to go after him. And so they went after each other. And at one point, Travis had him down, man. Had him down and hurt bad. And Arlovsky came back from that and knocked him out. And that was one of the craziest rounds in heavyweight history.
Yeah, that was mad. That was
fucking madness.
That was so cool.
Wild round.
And then Arlovsky goes and fights Amir, and I was expecting the same. Arlovsky to rock up and same. I was expecting the same.
Frank Mir,
I was expecting the same fireworks, and unfortunately, it was a little bit of not quite the same enthusiasm in that one.
I think in that fight, one of the things that happens in really high-pressure fights, and I think this correlates with what we were talking earlier about pressure and about, like, we were talking about guys that put too much pressure on themselves from shit-talking and they get too much emotionally wrapped up in it. When a fight is a fight where they say the winner is going to be the number 1 contender and will next fight for the title, those fights suck at least 50% of the time. Because at least 50% of the time, everybody locks up and nobody wants to do anything stupid because a win virtually guarantees you a shot at the title.
Yep.
But the fight wasn't good because neither guy pulled the trigger. And it was very lackluster.
Yep.
It's like both guys were like hesitant and even Arlovsky, even though he won the fight, when I was interviewing him, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, he was shaking his head. He was devastated.
Which is crazy. He won. He won. He thought he was going to have the next shot at the title, but then, then the fight was bad. So that's one of the weird things about the UFC that people don't like, is that there isn't any like clear structure. Like when Miesha Tate won, she was virtually guaranteed a shot at the title. Beat Jessica Ai, you got a shot at the title. She beats Jessica Ai, it's like, listen.
Surprise.
It's not, you're not ready for that. Like, what? So she's She made some interview recently where she said that she should probably think about what she's going to do when she retires, and she should probably at least consider that. And I was like, whoa, she's like thinking about retiring. And that's an interesting thing when you look at the number one person in the division, which is clearly Ronda, who's made, I think she made like $6 million last year or $7 million, something fucking crazy like that. And that's in fighting. Forget about her, all these ads she's doing. She's in a million different fucking commercials. I mean, she's probably made that much on top of that with just ads and endorsements and movies. She's done 2 big movies. She's making fucking truckloads of money, right? And then there's Miesha Tate, who's the number 2 girl in the division. Arguably, I mean, even though she's lost to Ronda 3 times, she's the number 2 girl in the division, right?
Yes.
And how much do you think she makes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fraction, a small, and it's not like she's not hot. She's hot as fuck, right? She's got a beautiful body, great ass. Sorry I said that. Sorry, Miesha. I'll do respect. She's a great fighter, too. She's very tough.
I believe there's photos of you at the Wayne. Possibly.
I don't know if it was her. I think it was looking at Ronda's ass.
Yeah.
I've looked at a few asses at the weigh-ins. I get bored. There's nothing to do. I'm just standing there. They're in their underwear, feet away from me. I'm not being a creep. Just doing my job. But, you know, Miesha probably makes a very, very small fraction of what Ronda makes. And she's elite. She's an outstanding fighter. She's tough as shit, man. And, you know, and people love her. It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, and I believe she's into the movies now as well. Her Cyborg and Holly did that last one on her Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah, but who's making that movie? Who's going to see that movie?
Yeah.
You know, what is that movie? That movie's some fucking 3 a.m. Cinemax fucking zombie movie with kicking zombies' heads off or something. You know, it's like when people would tell me, oh, he's doing movies now. I'm like, look, I know a lot of people doing movies. Like, what kind of movie? Yeah, you know, are they doing a?
BJ Penn did a couple of movies, and yeah.
Well, even Gina Carano's done she's done some big movies, and she did that one movie. What was that movie? She was a star. Haywire. Yeah. Nobody saw it, and then because nobody saw it, nobody gave a shit about it. It faded away, and then you don't hear about her as a movie star anymore. I mean, she was that close, that close to being this runaway train movie star. And
there's Fast and the Furious, and there's all. I don't know, Fast and the Furious. Was she?
Ronda was in that. Ronda was in one of those, right?
And then also Deadpool. I think that one's coming out. She's got a major part in that as well.
Okay. Gina does,
so
right?
Hopefully that might skyrocket her career.
Oh, the ads for the previews for Deadpool look badass. It's a tough. My point is, it's a tough racket.
Yeah.
The movie business is a tough racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Frank Shamrock saying to me once, like he said he was going to get into acting. He said, "I'm going to take over the world of acting, same way I took over the world of fighting." I'm like, good luck with that, dude. You can't even control that. It's not like you can run hills better than anybody and kick people's asses. When you're fighting, you can be undeniable.
Yes.
You know, you're fighting. They lock you in that octagon, or you hop over the ropes into that ring, and when the referee says fight, there's nothing that can save that guy. You know, you storm after him and knock him out, and you're the fucking king. But in the world of acting, my God, there's so many hoops and ladders and so much bullshit, and it doesn't matter if you're the best.
Coming from you know exactly what's going on. You've
sort of, and I've done some acting, but I've been very lucky to be like on the outside of it all, looking in. You know, because I was always a stand-up comic. I always had like that as my real career, and then this acting thing was something I did when they offered me money to do it. But it's not something I really chased after that much. Yeah. And so when I watched other people that were chasing after it, I got to see like the psychological aspect of it. You see people kissing people's asses because you want everybody to like you, because you want to get cast in these movies, and you got to make friends with the right social circles. You got to be on the right red carpets. You got to support the right causes. You have to have the right political affiliations. It's a mess, man. It's a fucking mess. You can't say anything controversial. Can't do anything too fucked up. You know, there's certain things you can get away with as an athlete you could never get away with as an actor. Because if you did, they would just write, unless you're like some fucking Johnny Depp style, huge, undeniable movie star, you can get away with a lot of shit. But that's just, you become undeniable. You have so much fan base.
Yeah, he's already there, so he can do what he wants now. So it doesn't matter.
But even like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise fucked up, and he started, he did a bunch of wacky interviews where he was talking about Brooke Shields and Scientology.
Antidepressants.
And antidepressants. And dude, his fucking movie ticket sales just dropped after that. And it took a while for them to rebound. Took a couple of years
the
from the rebound.
Didn't help things at all.
No, that's wacky fucking shit, dude. But it's that weird world of acting. And, when Frank was telling me he was going to take over that world, I'm like, Jesus. I mean, not doubting you, but good luck.
Yeah.
It's a fucking different, it's not the same world. It's not like I'm going to take over the world of being a marathon runner.
Yep.
Well, no one can stop you. Everybody's at the starting line, ready, go. You get an equal shot. You're running the same road.
Yeah.
You're not running the same road when you're acting, man. Anybody ever talk to you about doing some fucking karate movies? Kicking some John Wayne Parr style kicks in movies?
I've dabbled a fraction, but only for free. But not only just like shorts for the YouTube, but nothing
for fun.
Just for fun, yeah.
Australian stuff or American stuff?
After I did the documentary with the Boss of Venom, we played around a little bit, and then we went to Thailand, and then I was lucky enough to work with some Thai stuntmen. And they'd work with Tony Jaa, and it was amazing.
Okay. That guy's incredible.
So these stuntmen that I got to work with, you throw an inch past their face, and they literally throw themselves back 10 feet onto concrete, onto their back. And you think and then they lay there dead. They lay there dead for 3 seconds, open their eyes. Okay, do it again. This time we're going to cut in a bit shorter. And then they throw themselves again and again and again.
You got to really know how to fall, man. Shit.
You don't have to do nothing. They sell it. They make it look amazing. It's like
the guys who fall, they got to really know how to fall and not hurt themselves.
That's a different league. It's like, yeah, I'd rather punch someone in the face. It's a lot easier. I'd rather make my money through violence instead of pretending to be violent.
And the documentary that you were talking about, if people didn't understand you through your thick Aussie accent, it's Blessed with Venom.
Yes.
And it's a great documentary, and it details your life and learning Muay Thai and moving to Thailand and living there and fighting there, and it's really cool documentary, man.
Thanks you. So many people were messaging me saying Joe Rogan sent me here on the YouTube comments saying thank you very much for Joe Rogan. Great documentary. So it's I was saying before, like when it got released in Australia, it was lucky enough to be open in cinemas. So we had cinema release, and then it just went nowhere. So it's on YouTube now. So if you want to have a look a bit not only about my career, but also about Thai culture. So about an Aussie going to Thailand and learning the Thai customs and culture, and learning how to speak Thai, and eating on the floor, and sleeping on the wooden floor, and training 7 hours a day. It's pretty, and then fighting the killers too. I wasn't just going in there and making up numbers. I was lucky enough to start at the bottom and then work my way up to winning 2 world titles in Bangkok. So it's a happy ending.
Yeah, it's a fascinating documentary too, because like culturally, it's such a unique thing for someone to do, to immerse themselves in the world of the Thai and of these Muay Thai fighters and live like they live and train like they live. And a guy coming from Australia and moving there and doing that, it's like it's always to me amazing to watch someone just enter into a world that's so completely different than theirs, and you barely had a grasp at all of the language, and you're training with these guys that have been essentially preparing for fights the way they did it with you for hundreds and hundreds of years before you were ever born.
Yeah, it's and then what happened was, so say I've moved into this camp and there's about 10 fighters there, and then one night I've had my fight, I've won, I've gone to patio with all the Westerners, hang out for a week's holiday, and I've come back and all the other kids had run away. So then there was only me and the superstar. So now that I was giving them 50% of my prize money after every fight. So now it was in the camp's best interest to try and make me as good as I could, as fast as I could, so I could win more fights and make more prize money, so they get 50% more income. So the only way they could survive is for me to become the best that I could, so they could get more money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's what a fortuitous roll of the dice for you.
Yeah. So I was thrown not under the bus, but
into the meat grinder.
Looking back, it was like the biggest blessing that could happen, because if there was 50 people there, I would have been stuck on a bag by myself. But because there was only me and the superstar, and then the superstar Sangten Noi, he had no one else.
What's his name?
His fight name was the Deadly Kisser.
The Deadly Kisser.
Deadly Kisser. So
why is that?
Because there's so much gambling in Thailand. So if he thought he was beating his opponent, at the end of the round, he'd give him a kiss on the cheek, and that would show all the punters, okay, I got this. So they'd all bet on him. So if you're being kissed by him, it means he's kicked your ass.
Oh no! hell.
So yeah, the Deadly
Did
Kisser.
the opponents know this nickname was the Deadly Kisser?
If they gave, because after the round, the ding, he'd walk up and just give you a kiss on the cheek, and then
They were like, "What the fuck, man? You're not kicking my ass."
fuck.
Did people try to take away? They try to move away from the kiss? They try
Raymond
to-
Decker, he fought Decker 3 times.
Oh,
and then,
really?
Decker's like, no, get away from me, get those filthy lips away from me. So
How did the fights go with him and Decker?
it was 2-1. Decker won the last one. Sangtan won the first 2. The first one was Japan. The second one was Lumpini. The third one was in Holland. It was very, very close, but Decker was... Sangtan was about 36, 37. It's like me versus Cosmo. Now, Sangtan was a little bit older. Decker was still in his prime. So he finally got one in his home country. That was live on Thai TV and Dutch TV. So, again, making Decker the legend that he is.
And how old was Decker at the time?
Possibly about 34, 35. But yeah.
So that was towards the end of his run too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
he had a heart attack. He was only like 42 or 43, right?
44.
44, was it?
44 in a park.
That's what the fuck, man.
Yeah.
How crazy. He was riding his bike.
Riding his bike in a Dutch park, and then he has a memorial there where they come and lay heaps of flowers, and I think they've spray painted the little tunnel that is with a big memorial of Decker, and it's very. Yeah.
So what a crazy way to go for a world-class athlete, world championship kickboxer, riding a bike.
Yeah.
And at a relatively young age.
Yeah, he was the king. He came to Australia and he hung out with me at my gym because he was fighting a friend of mine. He was fighting. He was training a guy that was fighting Nathan. So they needed someone to train for the week to prepare. So I was lucky enough. The promoter rang me and said, "Hey, do you mind if Raymond comes and trains at your gym for a week?" It's like, oh yes. So I hung out with him morning and night. And
what was he like?
The dude. He was just an animal. And so many stories. It's like me and you. I could just sit here and just listen to you all day like a little schoolboy, just asking stories about what's about this fight, what about that fight, do you have any injuries? And then he'd just go on. It was just a little boy just listening to greatness.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. He gave me a pair of shorts that I have up in my gym that I'm so proud of. That he fought multiple times in. But yeah, just the wars. He's Muhammad Ali of Muay Thai, pretty much.
Yeah,
he was the first one to put it on the map to say, look, there is a possibility for white people to beat Thais at their own sport in Thailand at the big stadiums, and not only win but knock them out in devastating fashion. So
his style was so aggressive too. God, it was so exciting to watch. He's one of my all-time favorites. And then Rob Kamen, who was different because Rob was a bigger guy.
Yes.
And but very technical.
Yes.
God, he has such a system. I had the honor of training with him quite a bit.
Oh, nice.
And he's so technical, man. His system, he has such a system for Muay Thai, for kickboxing, for putting combinations together and, and placement and movement. And he's a fucking interesting guy, Rob Kamen, man. Very interesting guy.
It was hard for him to get the same accolades as Raymond because Raymond was fighting the Thais at their most craziest weight, at the 63s, the 61, the 63s. So whereas
but you say that, you mean kilos, which is like,
kilos.
What is that, like 135, 140 or something like that?
Yes, 135, 130-ish.
Yeah.
And then whereas Rob was a little bit bigger and he was fighting Thais a little bit smaller, so he was knocking him out, but at the same time he should have been knocking him out because he's a big man. And then when you're fighting Westerner versus Westerner, you're not going to get the same worldwide sort of. Whereas Raymond was fighting like the pure killers at their weight and not just beating them but knocking them out. So and then when the Thais are paying attention and the country's stopping to watch a Westerner come to their country to knock out their best, then you know you've made it.
Yeah, he was a real phenomenon, and that's one of those things that for people that don't know the sport or aren't aware of it, like you can go right now to YouTube and go on a journey through the world of one of the greatest combat sport athletes ever. And Ramon Deckers has so many fights on YouTube.
Yes.
You can go and watch them, and you'll understand what we're talking about when you just watch to that guy just slam those kicks in and attack with a barrage of beautiful punches.
Yes.
He was a monster.
And
he was
then
a monster.
His pressure too, he'd push guys into the corner onto the ropes, and then it wouldn't matter if he got hit 14 times on the way in. He just give me one.
Yeah.
Just give me one. Bang, 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 and then boom, and then just knock him out unconscious.
His style is so hard.
It was
such a hard style.
He did a seminar at my gym. There was he said just have 3 or 4 of us. We'll just keep it tiny. We'll just keep it really small.
That's what he wanted.
Yeah,
3 or 4 person seminar.
Yeah, he didn't want the big 100 people. He just said let's keep it 6 people max.
Wow.
No, he said let's keep it an odd number so I can join in. So,
you're like 5.
And then he took it turns of going one by one with us. And then he'd say, okay, put your hands up. I'm going to demonstrate a demonstration. And he'd go 1, 2, hook, leg kick. And then you're thinking he's going to tap. And it's like boom, boom, boom. And then chop. And then your eyes would go bink. And you go, what the hell was that? And then
he hit you hard.
He sort of looked at me as if it was, he was shocked that he hit me so hard. My reaction, he goes, what? I said, oh, yeah, that was crazy. And he goes, oh, in Holland, this is normal. This is what we do because on the ring, there's no surprises. So if we train like this on the ring, there's and I'm just looking at him going, dude, there is no way in hell I'd like to train with like this for especially every day for a couple of hours every single day. That'd be detrimental to my health.
Well, ultimately, do you think that that's part of what broke him down? Like as he got older, like he was devastated, like physically. By the time he was done, his ankles were gone.
Yeah, possibly. And I think he got to the stage where his body was so destroyed where he can only do pads. He couldn't even. I don't think he could spar. I remember him telling us at lunch. He said, "Hey, I just do pads," and then it was. And because he was fighting so regularly, he didn't have to spar because he was fighting possibly every 2 weeks or so. So, yeah, he was.
That's the eternal debate. Because, like, in MMA as well, Joe Duffy was supposed to be fighting Dustin Poirier this past weekend in Ireland in a huge card in Dublin. Sold out in, like, an hour. Just Irish love fights, right? Yep. And Joe Duffy's the last guy to beat Conor McGregor. And he's an Irishman. So everybody's excited to see him. The Saturday before the fight, a week before the fight, he gets a concussion.
Hey.
Yeah, sparring hard, going after it, you know? And they pull out of the fight.
Yep.
So he pulls out of the fight the week of. Tried to, they gave him some examinations, and the doctor looked at him and said, "Listen, man, you got fucked up. Like you need a lot of time off. You need a few months off. You can't fight."
Yeah, count backwards from 10: apple, orange, lemon.
So that's the eternal debate. Do you spar like the Dutch? Do you fucking go crazy like Melvin Manhoef and Mike's Gym? You just fucking attack, and just take your lumps and deal with it, and then when you fight, you'll fight like that because you fight like that all the time. Yeah. Or do you take a more intelligent approach, like many fighters do, like the Thais do, where they spar and they don't spar hard at all?
Yes.
Right?
Well, the Thais don't even. When I first got there was no shin pads or. Yeah, it was, and then you could almost wear bag mitts, and it was just tap, 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 tap. And
so
then
it's just you're just working on movement.
No shin pads, so it'd be shin on shin. It'd still be fast, and then you pull out that like karate, like point karate style. Right. But it was Thai boxing, and then you still know if you got or not. So if the shin landed across your ribs, it'd be pulled. It'd be just a tap. And it's like, damn it. And then you'd spar with the kids that were 10 years old, and same deal, no shin pads. And then no one got hurt. And then after 3 hours, you're still smiling, you're still joking. But you've learned so much. You've learned that you just got your ass kicked by a 10-year-old without getting beat up, if that makes sense. When we box, we spar about 80-90%. But when we kick and play and clinch, it's a bit more control. The clinch is harder, I suppose. But longevity,
because you can do that in a clinch. Well, the same like jiu-jitsu, you can go full blast.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about it because you're not striking each other.
Yeah, I've had 122 fights now, and I'm
fucking crazy.
I'm sweet, and then I've had.
Well, listen to you. You're talking. You're fine. There's no dementia. There's no slurring words. Have 122 boxing fights.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so and then you hear about MMA guys, and then if they have more than 30 fights, it's a big deal because. But
then Jeremy Horn had over 100 fights, but very intelligent, fought real smart.
Yep.
Very bright guy, very technical. He's not an athletic, powerful, super freak athlete. Everything he had to do was proper technique and intelligence, and to this day, over 100 fights. Jeremy Horn, like you would never know it talking to him or looking at him. He looks great, talks great.
Yeah, majority of the Thais have had 250 fights, and then it's just normal. It's
250 fights. That is fucking crazy.
We had a 10-year-old kid in our camp that had 100 fights as a 10-year-old. He'd fight Monday, Tuesday, rest Wednesday, fight Thursday, Saturday, possibly rest Sunday. And then every time he fight, he was making 500 baht. So then his parents didn't have to work almost. He was making enough money as a junior, fighting 4 times a week, 5 times a week, where he could support the family just as a 10-year-old.
Wow.
So yeah.
So for them over there, it's
as a 10-year-old,
necessity.
if you're at 25 kilos too, you're not whacking with 100% power either. You're scoring, you're playing the game.
Right.
It's not until you get into your 13s, 14s, and then you start using a bit more force, and you start to get more damage on the shins, and a bit more. You got to be a bit more wary of the punching power. But as a junior, from say 7 till 10, you can definitely get away with fighting 3, 4, 5 times a week, no problem.
Well, some people say that that's the best way to teach kids too, because they learn before they can hurt each other.
Yes.
And you learn like how to move properly, and your body develops like that.
Yes.
You know, your body develops like. There's people that are that started out like they had like a martial arts background when they were young, and then they started putting on weight, like muscle weight, but they're still like super flexible. And it's because their body sort of developed throwing kicks, and their body developed doing those motions. And if you can learn, like there's a lot of people that believe that as a boxer, that if you don't start when you're young, you'll never achieve like a Floyd Mayweather level or a Roy Jones Jr. level. Like it's not possible. Yep. They say it's not, like your body has to develop doing that.
Yeah, in Australia, there's a big controversy right now because the Athletic Commission and the governments, they're all talking. They're talking. They don't want juniors to compete in any form of combat sport whatsoever until the age of 18, which I think is ludicrous, because if that happens, you've got the rest of the world that have already excelled to a certain level, and if we don't start competing until 18, we're already behind the 8 ball. We're so far behind that.
But that's so ignorant. That's ignorant on their part. That's people who don't understand combat sports, because that's the time to learn.
Yes, and then it's also, you're not learning it. It's not about the fight. It's about the culture.
Right.
It's about the lifestyle. It's about living healthy and training the body and getting flexible.
It's about getting over the fear of getting in competition as well.
Yeah.
It's about experiencing what young people are terrified of, getting your ass kicked, and experiencing it in the gym, right?
My daughter was lucky enough to start fighting at the age of 8. And,
that's hilarious. How many people say that?
Then,
my daughter was lucky enough to start fighting at the age of 8.
And then I remember she walked in as a little baby girl, and I was so petrified as a father. But then she walked out like a woman. She walked out as a warrior, as an 8-year-old warrior. And then ever since, she's had this passion for the fighting. She loves collecting trophies. She loves making the magazines and doing interviews, and it makes you become a better person, I believe. I think it makes you evolve. Evolve is the right word?
Yes, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely... people that have never fought will never understand what it's like to have that bond against someone, to compete for a couple of minutes, and then after that, no matter what happens, I've always, with 122 people, I can say, I'm not just a friend, but I've shared a moment in time where me and you, we've went into a different dimension for that time that we fought each other. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing that can erase that memory of me and you standing toe to toe and exchanging blows. So yeah, I think this is why I love the sport so much, because I have such a deep passion for it.
Well, when I was watching that Cosmo Alexander fight, I was actually thinking that. I was like, these guys they're sharing a crazy... Because I was also thinking, like, you're 39 years old, and I don't know how much longer you can compete at this elite world-class level. You know, you're fighting in a world championship fight. And I'm watching this, I'm like, man, this is an intense moment that these two guys are sharing. And then afterwards, you guys are smiling and hugging each other. And I was like, wow, those guys really did just share a very, very intense experience and a very intense moment that very few people will ever understand.
Yeah, it's such and then to erase that from childhood memories, like for young kids not to have that experience, I think that's so sad, because what's better, especially coming from myself, to go to school fighting on Saturday in a tournament, and go to school on Monday and telling the boys, oh yeah, I got a gold medal for whatever competition, whether it be judo, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, karate, it doesn't matter if it's Muay Thai, it could be anything. It's or even soccer, football. You've gone out in the weekend and you've excelled at sport that you've put your life into. So, and that the boys come over to your house, they have a sleepover. You got 4 or 5 trophies up on the shelf. Nothing can make you more proud than to be in. They're from my fighting days. So,
well, I think it also teaches you how to overcome very scary moments, very difficult moments. And I think when you don't overcome difficult moments, you always have that fear. Like, how would I do under pressure? What would happen to me under pressure? I mean, how would I do when the chips are down, when I'm nervous? I mean, and people who compete, they have the experience of doing that. And I think that's where character is built. Character is built through adversity. And I think to deny young kids the opportunity of that, especially out of ignorance, because if they don't understand that young kids don't get hurt the way adults do. I mean, you're fighting like, you see a guy like Gokhan Saki fighting Tyrone Spong. Those are big boys.
Yes.
Big, heavy, throwing guys that are throwing fucking bombs. There's a big difference between that and 2 6-year-olds that are fighting Muay Thai with headgear on and big gloves and shin pads in an amateur fight.
Yes.
What those kids are doing is they're learning how to do something that's very difficult.
Yes.
And that
it's the same,
overcoming that moment.
The same fear, but with the protection. So it's almost the same. I like what you said on. I shared one of your quotations on my Instagram the other day that absolutely killed it about people that have never been in a street fight. It's that same thing where you're people that are. You always say, that guy he's pissing me off if I'm just going to knock him out. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You have no idea. If that guy hits you back, you know how much it's going to hurt.
Well, what I said was that I don't understand how people who have never had any martial arts experience at all are willing to fight.
Yes.
Like they're crazy. Like they're fighting. I've seen people fight in the streets that you could tell when they're fighting that they have no fighting experience at all. They don't know anything. And yet they're willing to take a chance and fight some guy they don't even know. And they're going to somehow or another, they think they're going to kick this guy's ass. You don't even know. You don't know anything. They just flailing. I've seen it happen. It's terrifying. I don't understand it. I don't know how people are willing to do that.
I'm so mad right now. I'm just going to walk over there. I'm just going to knock him out. It's like it's not that easy. And then once that confrontation starts, if you hit that person and you don't knock him out, you're just going to piss him off.
Or you break your hand. I mean, how many times have people done that? Throw a punch and hit a guy in the forehead and just smash your hand open.
Or they pull out, they break a bottle, or they pull something out of their pocket,
Christ.
and then it gets this next level.
It's life or death now.
Yeah.
Great. And you don't know how to fight at all. And you're in a life or death situation where you just hope this guy doesn't kill you. Let's hope somebody that rescues you beforehand. It's terrifying. Especially because there's a big difference, and I think that's where a lot of people get confused when it comes to martial arts, and they equate it with violence. The competition of a fight or of an event like a martial arts event is a very, very different thing, because you're preparing for a skill contest. And the skill contest may be dangerous, and there's possibly violent endings to these things, but it's not violence in the sense of you're not like trying to go out and find someone and make them your victim. Yes. What you're doing is you're trying to compete. You're competing, and in doing so, you learn something about yourself, and you develop a confidence that for someone who's never competed like that, you'll never totally understand.
Yes, a violent game of chess.
Yeah, and even more crazy than chess, especially MMA, because there's so many moves, there's so much going on. There's like if you're playing chess, you have so much time to think about it. Yes. Unless you're playing that speed chess shit where they're hitting the clock. But when you're playing chess and you're overlooking this board, I mean, not taking anything away from chess, because chess is a fascinating game, and there's so much complexity to it, and there's so many different moves, so many different possible combinations. But believe it or not, there are more possible combinations in fighting. There's more possible combinations. The outcome is more terrifying. More is at stake. Your physical health is at stake. You're gambling your health on discipline. You have to get up in the morning. You have to overcome your body being tired and sore, and you got to get up when you don't want to, when that warm bed is calling you. You got to put on your fucking running shoes, and you got to go do your road work, and you got to do your strength and conditioning, and you got to spar when you don't want to spar, and your body's starting to get run down, and you got to make sure you get the right amount of sleep. You got to make sure you get the right amount of nutrition. There's all these variables, emotions, the physical fear, the fear of your own demise, not the nerves of I'm sure chess players get nervous before they have a match, but do you think they get nervous the way way a fighter gets nervous, I don't think it's possible.
Then I have to go in the hospital after that.
Yeah.
And then there's no fear, am I going to get knocked out? Am I going to get cut? When I compete, I try to tell people that are coming up through the sport, what's it like to have your first fight? It's like we were saying before, once the bell rings, everything goes numb. And you don't have time to think, so you have to take yourself. Everything's on that muscle memory. So many times I've been punched at or kicked at, or an elbow is thrown, and I've blocked it with a quarter of a second to go. And I'm thinking in my head, if that had hit me flush, I would have been knocked out. But somehow or other, my body knows the block in time, to counter in time, and then I don't hear anything. I don't see anything besides my opponent. I can't. I'm just in this different world. And then the end of the fight, the bell rings, ding, and all of a sudden it seems the world opens back up again. I'm back on the chair. I can hear voices again, and then I can't remember the fight. The fight's just a blur. It's not till people say, "Hey, do you remember this or that?" or till you watch the replay on the phone or the internet or the replay. But you into a different realm completely. It's such a unique experience to turn off your brain and just rely on pure instinct. Again, that's why I love it. I love it so much.
Well, it's got to be an intensity that no one else could ever understand. And that's probably a bond that you share with those people that you get into the ring with, like Cosmo Alexander, that the average person would just never be able to understand what you guys have gone through.
Yeah, and then the idea you've been cut and the one eye's blurry from the blood, and you don't want to wipe it because that's a tell from your opponent that the blood's starting to annoy you. So you got to try and stay there with one eye all red and bloody and yucky, and you can feel the stickiness in your eye, and you can feel the pain. You can feel your eye throbbing, and then you got to turn off. It's such a you got to take yourself such you got to go so much soul searching to keep focused on being violent and trying to win, no matter how. Even though you're losing, you know that you have to try and come back and still knock this guy out
and make adjustments
and turn the pain off. Yet still trying to focus on how am I gonna what I'm doing is not working, so I have to try and up the ante and try something else, and that might get me in more danger again, where I might get even more cut or more beat up or another knee to the face. So,
do you ever work with a hypnotist or a psychologist or sports psychologist or anything like that?
I know Vinny Shawman.
Yeah, I know Vinny.
I'm good friends with Vinny, but I never work with anyone.
You should try it with Vinny. Vinny's. I was wondering. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Hypnosis. And Vinny put me under.
Yeah, Vinny.
But I knew I was under. But I was like, whoa, this is a strange state he puts you in.
Yeah,
he's a
cool.
very interesting cat.
Vinny's cool. He came out to Australia with a friend of mine, Andy Hallison, and then they hung out for a week, and we were good buddies. But and then in Australia as well, there's a lot of mind coaches as well that I've noticed that are starting to appear out of somewhere. But because I've been in Thailand so long, I don't believe I need mind coaching. I believe I'm already at that stage in my life where I know exactly what I want. Same with this world title with Cosmo. I know I wanted it. I didn't need someone to tell me that I wanted it. I know I want it. And when I lose it, it just fucking pisses me off. But
I think a lot of people have that thought about what it is, and I did as well. Like, oh, well, what you're going to do is it's going to solidify what you want, and you go after it. I don't necessarily think it's that. What Vinny, instead of hypnosis, what Vinny likes to think of it as, like, you're optimizing the pathways for your focus. And instead of like saying, I know what I want, I'm going to go get it, it's sharpening that to a razor's edge. And I think that I think everyone should look into it. Not necessarily saying that everyone should implement it. Like here's a perfect example. Like Roy Jones Jr. in his prime, I would say just do everything you're doing. Don't change a goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when he was fighting and just moving like no one has ever moved before, knocking guys out with combinations that were just ridiculous. Like, how could you say that guy needs to go to a mind coach?
Yeah.
You can't, right? But I really honestly believe that even though I would say just do whatever you're doing, if he did go to a mind coach, it would probably take it to an even different level.
Yeah.
Probably take it to an even higher level. I think that everything you do, as good as you're doing it, you could do it better. Yep. I think everything can be optimized, and I think everything has layers and levels to it. And to say this is good enough, we're done here, I just think honestly, it almost like it disrespects the process of evolution.
Yes.
It disrespects the process of getting better at it, of greatness. Yep. Like for every Roy Jones Jr., there's a guy watching Roy Jones Jr. and thinking, I got to figure out a way to beat that motherfucker, and training harder, and maybe he has just as many physical gifts, and maybe he has just a slight edge in some sort of a weird, strange way because he's been watching Roy Jones Jr. compete. Man, I don't know, man. I think that this sport is all about, like, minute differences, like all combat sports. Just do you know who Nick Curson is? No. Strength and conditioning coach. Really highly respected. Trains Rafael Dos Anjos, who's the UFC lightweight champion, and trains Ruslan Provodnikov, a famous boxer, and a bunch of other elite athletes. Done some work with Joe Schilling now, too. He's doing some work with Joe Schilling. And he said something really interesting when Rafael Dos Anjos beat Anthony Pettis. And he said, you know, one of the things that we did with him, all these strength and conditioning drills, it's about executing and getting there just slightly faster. And he's like, even though he dominated that fight, think about those exchanges. He dominated those exchanges by maybe a half a second. Like he landed a half a second quicker. He was a half a second, his recovery was just a little quicker. He was able to re-engage just a little quicker. And those little tiny edges means he lands first, and it means he's dominating. And even though his advantage, like physically, his advantage of execution was so small, it was enough. Yep. Those little advantages are enough to win a fight. Yep. And it's incredible when you think about it that way, that this sport is just, it's a matter of like these incremental increases in ability, incremental advances. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. I never grow tired of it.
I guess I'm sort of in the caveman era too, where I believe that, like, I think what the mind coaches are doing are awesome, but at the same time, I don't need someone to pat my back and say, "Hey, you're doing a good job."
Right.
Okay.
I don't think they're doing that though.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing that. Talk to Vinny. I mean, maybe he'll give you a bit of an insight on it. Yep. But I think you're right too. You know, I'm not saying he's right and you're wrong. I think you're right too, because you're a proven champion, you know, and that mindset, the steely determination that you've developed, like nobody needs to tell you how to do it. Yeah. You know, I firmly believe you're one of those guys you can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say it's go time, and you put your shorts on, wrap your hands, and you don't know what the fuck to do. You're just going to fall into it. You know, it's your thing. Yeah, you've been doing it forever.
Because there's a gentleman in Australia that's doing it, and then if someone's having a bad day, I know they call him and say, "Oh mate, I had a bad session. What do I do?" "Oh mate, don't worry. Tomorrow's a new day." Where I know, okay, today I fucked up. Tomorrow I'm gonna train harder and make sure that doesn't happen again.
You're your own mind coach.
Yeah. So, and then I got no one else to blame but myself too. Right. So I'm very lucky in Australia that I own the gym. I'm my own trainer, my own manager. I do all my negotiations with promoters. I have my friends that come in, like Kevin from New Zealand here, that comes and helps me, and we work on different. We talk. I give him ideas of what I want to do on the pads. So everything, I'm in control of my own destiny, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I've got no one dictating me what to do. I was the one that reached out to Scott Kent to try and get online fight. I'm the one that's reaching out to all these different guys. So
you like that. But some people don't, right? Some people like they just don't want to train. They don't want to think. They want their manager to tell them who to fight. Yeah. They want everything set up for them, and they just want to concentrate on training.
Yeah. Well, because I finished Thailand, when I moved back to Australia from Thailand, there was no one for me there. So I opened a gym because I needed somewhere to train. So I had to teach classes to pay the rent, so I could still have somewhere to train. And that sort of blossomed into the gym started being successful. So then I started having more guys training underneath me that wanted to fight. Then all of a sudden I'm working their corners and learning how to wrap hands, and now I'm trying to do everything, and then also at the same time trying to create my own career as well. So I've been so lucky that it's just sort of happened. Mm-hmm. It's not that I wanted it. It's not like I wanted a coach. I'd love to have a coach, but at the same time, it's what I've been doing has been working, and I've been lucky enough to be successful. So,
where would you train if you didn't have to run your school, and if you didn't have to? Where is there a place in the United States or in Thailand or anywhere in the world where you would train?
Thailand was perfect for the 4 or 5 years, and then definitely grew out of that, and when it was time to come to Australia, it was perfect. And then, but where would I train?
You grew out of it. How so?
The fights were so hard for so small money. So
high level fights, very dangerous fights.
Very dangerous fights. Again, with guys with 200, 300 fights, and then your prize money is enough for a Happy Meal. So it was crazy. And then by the time you convert that Happy Meal money to Australian money, you're buying a pack of chewing gum.
God damn it! What's the cheapest you ever fought for?
The cheapest I fought for was 1,000 baht, which was $25.
Oh my God!
Yeah, but then
then you have to pay money to the gym, and then you got to think about training expenses and food.
Yeah.
You're losing money, a lot of money.
So yeah, it sort of sucked. But then I worked my way up, and then my last fight in Thailand was for $1 million baht, which was approximately 35,000 Australian. And then
that's not bad, right?
Yeah, if that's okay.
But it was probably like a super elite, world class fight.
Yeah, and then from there, I've been on the 30s, the 40s for the last 10 years. So I've been very fortunate that way that I've enough to survive and live comfortably and only have to train and look after the gym and where a lot of other people that I manage and then they're lucky if they get $3,000 they've hit the jackpot. So it's such a hard sport to try and become a superstar. It's so hard.
So if there was one place where you would train, if you had, it was totally up to you.
I guess Holland.
Holland. Which
probably.
Gym do you know?
Good question. I'd probably train with Core Hammers.
Core Hammers is a legend.
He's got the riding on the board with Raymond, and then what's the gentleman now that trains at a Glory that's doing this kicking? Nicky Holson.
Nicky Holson.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's with Core Hammers though.
He was for a while. I don't know if he is anymore.
I believe he's still with that circle of guys.
He's a beast though.
Yeah,
God, he's so good.
He's amazing.
He's excellent.
He's one of my dream fights. I'm probably a little bit older fighting now because he's in his peak and I'm a little bit older. But he was one of the guys that I always thought that we'd cross paths, but we never did.
Wait, is he? He's Glory
76, I believe. Oh, 77. George's weight, welter.
Okay, so it's 170.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. So he's
a little heavier, a little more like Cosmo Alexander.
Like Cosmo, and a killer too. He's got dynamite.
Nasty left hook.
Nasty punches, just like Raymond. Very similar. Well, he was a Raymond Decker mini-me. So.
Well, he has a very technical style, though, very intelligent. Like when he fought Raymond Daniels.
A good high knee as well.
Yes.
That knee to the face is a killer.
When he fought Raymond Daniels throws all those wild combinations and crazy shit. He just walked him down. Figured out how to keep the pressure on him, throw a lot of leg kicks, throw combinations, rip that left hook to the body, and eventually he took him out.
And once he presses him into the corner too, there's no escape. And he's got that nice switch knee to the face. And
Raymond Daniels is an interesting case. Do you know who he is?
Yes. They fought twice.
Yeah, they fought twice, and he stopped him both times. Raymond Daniels is an interesting case because there's a guy who was elite at a very odd style of fighting. He was elite at point karate.
Yes.
And if you watch his point karate fights online, you realize, God, this guy just blitzes in with this crazy shit, and then they would stop it.
Yes.
And point karate, for people who don't know, is like a really high-level game of tag with karate. Because once you touch the guy, like literally touch them, they stop it, and they score the point. So it's very difficult to transition from that into continuous fighting. Like when you fight in kickboxing or in Muay Thai or in MMA, when you hit a guy once, he hits you back, you hit him again, and it's all about hitting and not being hit and movement. What karate, what they get really good at is this blitz, where they jump on you and attack. But they have to get used to you hitting back and the referee not stopping the action. So credit to Raymond Daniels, he went from doing this one style of like jumping in and hitting a guy once to this continuous style. And then also factor in leg kicks, because in these karate tournaments, you can't kick the legs. So he's jumping in with all these wild kicking and punching techniques. And then he goes from that to this incredibly difficult, grueling style of fighting. The guys have their hands up very high. They're throwing a lot of leg kicks, and he's excelled at it, except at the very elite level. When he's fought the very best guys, like Joseph Valtellini stopped him, same thing. Attack the legs, get him to block the leg, goes up high and head kicks him. But it's utilizing the Muay Thai style to defeat this style where he's got so many tools, but he doesn't quite have all of it together at a world-class level. But if you let the guy fight on the outside, man, he's got that blitz.
Yep.
That blitz and those wild kicks. He's really interesting, man.
Yeah, very unorthodox. Out of the spins.
Yeah.
And the jumping.
But you got to wonder, man, with a guy with those type of skills, if he could get his hands at the same level as like a Nicky Holtzkin or a Valtellini and get those leg kicks at the level that those guys have, like, woof, man.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. He's yeah. But Nicky Holtzkin, he's I don't know anyone who can fight him right now. He's probably the king at that weight division.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent and glory. It really drives me nuts to seeing that them leaving Spike TV. It really bums me out.
I don't know what's going to happen now because without them and prize money and without the exposure, what happens now? What happens to the Lion Fight's the only channel to go now, I suppose. And now Bellator is doing the kickboxing version as well with their last show with the ring and the cage. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting.
But that was combined with Glory.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was what they were doing, you know. I mean, they were just trying to have like a big, crazy, like Japanese-style event, you know. I don't know, man. It just bums me out. It just bums me out that for whatever reason, it didn't catch on.
Yep.
You know. And Spike is obviously where the UFC took off, so it's not like it can't happen there.
Yep.
But whatever reason, it just didn't.
Yeah. So it's hard for us strikers. We have to get the steel cup on the corners in between fights. The chinga chinga. And you got any change? You got any change?
Pass the hat around. What about in Holland? Is it? Do they make money in Holland fighting?
I believe. They shut down all the big shows. There's a massive show called Showtime where they used to have half a football stadium, and I believe they had like 30 to 40,000 people that would come to these events 3 or 4 times a year. And then apparently the Hells Angels were involved with a little bit of washing this and that, and then they got banned from doing the big shows. So that's why there's nothing happening in Holland now.
Fuck.
Yeah, again, it was that was the place to go, Holland and Showtime. And Cosmo was a former Showtime champion also, and Badahari.
Love watching that guy fight. He's fucking crazy.
Sammy Shield, all these crazy killers, all the Dutch. It was such an amazing show. And then because they knocked it on the head, now where do you go? That was besides Thailand, Holland was that place, and now that's dried up. Now it seems that
maybe Japanese can fucking pick up the slack and come back with K1 again.
Yeah.
Because I know they're trying to do a new MMA promotion. They have Fedor for New Year's.
Yes.
But here's the problem. There's no heavyweight talent out there. They can't find Fedor an opponent.
Someone said his opponent's 4 fights or something with 2 wins.
Oh, that guy, they pulled that guy out.
Yeah.
Apparently he's not in shape. That was an Indian gentleman, I believe, from India. I know who he is, but he's just not world class. He's not for a guy like Fedor.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're talking about arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, and you're going to have him fight a guy who's just nowhere near his league for a New Year's Eve show. That's crazy. Yeah, you need world-class talent.
There was so much excitement when he announced that he was coming back, and then there was the talk.
Well, he's supposed to fight in the UFC. That's what he's supposed to do.
There was talk of the UFC, then there was talk of going to Bellator, then he was going to make the big announcement, and then okay, we're going to Japan.
Well, I think at least Spike TV is going to air the fight. I think they did something in conjunction with Spike TV for this event. So I believe, I'm just pretty sure that it's in conjunction with Spike TV.
Okay, yep.
The Fedor. But who the fuck's he going to fight? There's no one out there. Unless Randy Couture comes out of retirement.
Yeah, and
Randy's 50 whatever years old.
And then you're going to need a strong undercard to support it as well. And everybody signed. Everyone signed with either Bellator or UFC or...
It's crazy.
Or World Series of Fighting. Between those 3 shows, they have everybody.
Yeah. So Bellator doesn't even really have a heavyweight champion. You never see their heavyweight champion fight. I mean, who the fuck is their heavyweight champion? Yeah. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't think the guy has fought. I don't think their heavyweight champion has fought in like 2 years or something crazy like that.
Yep.
It's a mess, man. It really is a mess. It's just it's very unfortunate. I would like, I'd like to see him fight a quality opponent if he's going to come back. And
yeah, definitely. Like the pro days, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, well, they did it before. Why can't they do it again? You know, I mean, I think it's got to be. There's got to be some upstarts, some young up-and-coming fighters out there all over the world that are very talented. It's a matter of having a quality talent scout who really is deep in the game, who understands fighting, who can go out there and recruit those guys at a young age, and then have Well, the Japanese also, there's another angle that must be considered, is that the Japanese became big, the organizations, by having pro wrestlers fight in MMA matches like Takada. When Takada fought Hicks and Gracie was the man in the fucking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world, right? And he was the man in the Gracie world. Like, when Royce Gracie was winning the UFC, he always said, listen, my brother's 10 times better than me. And he always said that. And then his brother goes and fights for Japan Valley Tudo and becomes a superstar in Japan. And then his brother, people don't know, Hickson fought in the very first Pride. Hickson fought Takada. And so when Hickson was fighting in Japan, Hickson was a superstar, Takada was a pro wrestling superstar, and that's what made Pride take off. And then obviously they were doing these gigantic arenas, Saitama Super Arena, and these huge fucking venues and New Year's Eve shows, and they have to figure out how to rebuild that. But I don't even think pro wrestling is where it's at anymore in Japan. I think Japan, they get fickle. You know, these young kids, they dress like Elvis, they dye their hair purple, and then next year, you know, they become accountants, and that's the new thing. They have like these weird fads they get into.
What's the gentleman that Genki Sudo?
Yeah,
he turned into the singer, rock star, robot dancing.
Yeah,
exactly like you were saying. One day here, MMA superstar, Muay Thai. Well, here's MMA as well. He was everything.
Very good grappler.
K1 MMA, and all of a sudden he's doing rock star. Yeah, he's
cool. A character, man.
He's the man. He was. What can't he do? That bloke. That was awesome.
Well, he was also
he fought Butterbean in MMA. He got him in the
Butterbean. The big heavyweight boxer.
He did the jumping back kick off the top rope, and then got him in a heel hook, I believe. And then that was nuts.
And he was outweighed by like man,
was crazy.
At least 150 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Butterbean's got to be 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Plus
madness, pure madness. And then I don't know how the promoter can stay there and go, oh, I got a good match. What it was? So how do you even justify putting that on and then sitting back and going, oh, this is going to be awesome?
They put on a lot of freak shows in Japan.
A lot of freak shows.
That was one of the other things that they did to attract attention. They had guys that were fighting guys way smaller than them.
Yep.
You know, like
the Thai. They remember the Thai kid. I forget
Mighty
his name.
Mo,
Mighty
and he
Mo.
fought. What's his name?
Calclay.
Yes, Calclay.
Calclay did the jumping roundhouse kick to the
Woo!
head, and then brought the leg back and hit him with the heel on the way down.
Yeah.
I think he was outweighed by at least 70 kilos at least.
At least. Mighty Mo was a bomber too.
That was like you were going to see someone get killed.
Yeah.
I thought Mighty Mo was going to put him into his
Calclay would fight with his hands down too.
Yeah.
Almost like a Taekwondo fighter.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then he was fighting them regularly. He fought Hongman Choi from Korea.
Yes, he did. That's right.
The 7'2" blue-haired monster. And then should have beaten him too, but they wanted to create him. They tried to build Hongman Choi up so he'd become the next K1 star. But in theory, if you watch the fight, Calclay should have won that one.
Yeah.
A 76 kilo, 5'10" Thai versus 7'2" Korean beast, and then landed a head kick too.
Yeah.
You see one of the photos where his legs completely vertical.
Completely split. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to K1 Max? They had some wild fights over there. Remember when Masato was over there?
I was on K1 for 2 years.
And Cool Vince Phillips came over, the former boxing champion, and fought Masato in a kickboxing fight.
Yeah.
He got his legs destroyed.
He fought the handsome MMA guy as well. He fights for UFC also. Oh, what's his name? Can you please tell me his name?
Handsome.
Sexy Yama.
Oh.
He fought Sexy Yama MMA.
Did he really?
So what happened?
Vince Phillips did?
Yeah.
Oh, how dare he?
Not Vince. Was it Vince? He fought one of the boxers from America. So he's come over
and fought MMA.
He fought MMA for the first time, and then we were catching a lift together in the hotel. And I asked him, I said, what's your game plan? Have you been doing much MMA? And he goes, I'm just going to treat it like a street fight.
Oh,
I'm just going to punch that motherfucker in the face. And once he realizes my power, and it's like, oh.
That always works.
Yeah, so I gave him a tap on the shoulder. It's like, oh, good luck with that. And then after the fight, we caught the same lift back to the room. And those motherfucking Japanese set me up, man. They knew damn right I had no chance in hell in that fight. It's like,
what did he think?
Did you expect? Of course you're going to get... And then the funny thing was, he was talking a whole lot of shit at the press conference. And then
Francois Botha.
Not Botha, no.
No, he fought Botha, though. That was he submitted him, and Botha was a former boxing champion who fought K1, right?
He came from. He was an American boxer from, I believe it was Texas. He fought Sexyama. I think it was 2005.
I don't know who the fuck it was.
Yeah. So anyway, at the press conference, he's talking all this stuff. So during the fight, there were so many times that the American boxer was given his arm, and then he just pushed the arm out of the way and just rained down punches more and more and more. He wanted to punish him instead of tapping him out.
Really?
It was quite crazy.
I don't know who the fuck it was. I'm looking at his record, and I don't see anybody in there that I recognize as a
boxer.
Michael Lerma? I don't know who that is.
Yeah, it was like a special because it was K1 card as well as K1 Max card, and they threw in an MMA fight there just for shits and giggles.
K1 Max. It was Michael Lerma. I don't know who that dude is though. I don't know. Let me Google him real quick.
Is there an American flag beside it?
Yep. Yeah, he's a boxer. Yep. Visit page K1. Yeah, that's who it was. Iron Horse Boxing Club. Yep, that's him. I'm just gonna kick his ass, bro. Just gonna kick his ass. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
shit doesn't really work.
So no, and then they do it all the time. Also, they had a Japanese boxer versus Masato as well, and the same deal as well. He didn't learn how to check, and Masato just went in there and just destroyed his legs.
Masato was an excellent fighter. He was very, very good.
He was the man that every single person wanted to fight because he was the one that was rocking up to the weigh-ins in a Ferrari. He was the Conor McGregor of MMA of K1. Sorry,
but he wasn't talking. Was he talking shit?
He didn't have to.
Right.
He was doing all these. He was actually silent. He was like this.
You mean Conor McGregor? I mean, they was stylish and he had nice clothes on, suits.
He was doing the Rolex commercials, and he was driving like the Ferraris, and he had the hairstyle where he had the blonde tips, and every single girl every single 40,000 seat arena, and all dressed to pretty much. And then the little golf clubs when they come out, just the pure excitement of just being in the same room as him.
He was a beautiful man.
He
retired young too.
Yeah, and then once he retired, K1 collapsed probably a year later because they didn't have the star anymore. Without one fighter. He was the pinnacle. He was, and I wanted to fight him, and then every single person wanted to fight him because if you beat him, that was going to launch you to the stratosphere of just becoming an overnight phenomenon. So
he fought Boonchu, right?
Yes, the same year that I fought Boonchu. I fought Boonchu first in the first fight, and then it was Masato Boonchu final, and then Boonchu should have won after 3. They called it a draw. And the Masato's eyes closed. He had a limp. I think he started urinating blood the next day, and they called it an extension. And there was a draw, one more round. And Masato's looked at Boonchu's going, oh no, this isn't going to be good. So then Boonchu's gone out there and done the business for another 3 minutes. And then they've awarded the K1 Max title to Boonchu. But the next day you heard, Masato wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
They should have stopped it. But because he was Japanese, they wanted...
they wanted to give him a chance to win.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good. And a guy like that, it's interesting that he never came back.
But Masato ended up winning the K1 Max twice. So to his credit, he'll be undeniably the greatest Japanese... Because in the heavyweights, they had... what was the heavyweight champion's name? Not champion, the heavyweight. Musashi. Yeah. And he never sort of excelled to their level where Masato did. So for Masato to win the K1 twice against legit world killers,
he was a real world championship caliber kickboxer.
He was a man,
and really probably the only Japanese that fought at that level.
I think if it wasn't for Masato, there would have been no K1 Max.
Yeah.
He was the kid that shined, that said, "Yep, we need to make a 70 kilo division because this kid's gonna take us all away and put us on the world stage as legitimate as a country." So,
but it's unique in combat sports that he decided to stay retired.
Yes.
You know, I wonder what that was. It was just probably the punishment from some of those fights. Just got to a point where
money, fame. I think he got to the stage where he'd already conquered the sport, and there was nowhere for him to go anymore. He'd already done everything and had money in the bank. And then I think get the stage where you don't want to wake up at 6 in the morning anymore. You don't want to have to put ice on your knees and your shoulders after every session.
Everybody that fights in MMA or kickboxing, there's always that one person in every sport that has that life, whether it's Ronda Rousey in women's MMA, and then the other girls are looking at her and they, they're struggling. Or whether it's Masato or whether it's Conor McGregor, there's like this one person, these a few outliers that sort of figure it out. Yeah,
and then Holly Holmes even come out and said, I want what Ronda has. Well, I wanted what Masato had. I would love to
Ferrari.
Doing the pull. I remember one commercial. He's in a Ferrari, pulls up. You see that pull up, then the door opens like a spaceship, and then they focus in on his Rolex watch, and it's like, damn. And he's in a suit, and he's looking stylish, and he's got just the king. It's like, oh, look at this guy. This is what a hero. So, and because you're both playing the same game, it's like, how come I can't be him? I'd love to be him. That'd be so cool.
Did the guys in K1, the heavyweight division K1? Did those guys make good money?
Well, they had a 8-man tournament once a year, and when it was at its peak, they had the Tokyo Dome, 90,000 people, and it would sell out in 2 hours, and then you'd have to fight 3 times in approximately 3 hours, and the grand prize was $500,000 US. So,
do you know how much profit they must have made? If you have 90,000 people in an arena, and you're selling those, just think about it. Even if it's only $10, that is a fuckload of money. That is a goddamn fuckload of money, and you're only paying out $500,000 to the winner, and you have pay-per-view.
And Mr. Ishii might have forgot to pay tax for a few years in a row. So then he had to do. I think he believed he had to do a little bit of
time.
No, he got we stay at home detention.
Oh, that's it.
Home detention for a few years.
Oh, that's great.
And that's when
just get pizza delivered. Watch TV. It's better than jail, man.
But yeah, and then. The other gentleman took over K1, and that's when the sideshow started happening. That's when the Bob Sapp started coming in, the Hongman Choi started coming in.
Oh, is that what happened? That's when wow.
So Ishii had this platform where everything was 90,000 people, and then everything was perfect, and then and then it sort of started declining from that moment on.
That's too bad, because in the glory days of K1, back in the Ernesto Hoos days and Peter Ertz and Mike Bernardo, it's like those fights were so technical, so high level, so great. Jerome LeBanner, I mean, those, oh my God.
Well, we had Sam Greco that was fighting for Australia, so he was the Australian hero.
Yeah.
And then, it was...
Sammy Schultz.
This is before the Schultz
era.
It
was before,
this is the golden era.
Maurice Smith.
And then just seemed to be those 8 guys that would just keep knocking each other out year after year after year for about 10 years in a row. And as a teenager, there was just someone would get a VHS of the latest Grand Prix, and then you sit there and you watch it, and it'd be so you couldn't move. All the boys would sit around with the popcorn.
Remember Andy Hug? Andy Hug was an undersized guy.
Andy Hug, remember those days? Yeah, the spinning heel kicks to the thighs.
Yeah, wheel kick to the thigh.
Yes.
Nobody was doing that, man.
No one was doing that.
Yeah. So, well, he was a Kyokushin, right?
He was Kyokushin, yes.
Yeah.
Same as Sam Greco. And
threw a lot of wild kicks.
Sammy Schultz, Sam Greco, Andy Hug, they all had that Kyokushin, just that mentality of walk forward, throw leg kicks.
But Andy Hook was only like 5'10" or something like that, right? He wasn't a big guy, and he had to put on a lot of muscle in order to fight those heavyweights. Very undersized when you see him fight.
Yes.
A lot of those guys in that division.
And today I'd knock you out, and then a month later I'd knock them out, and then
how crazy is that? They fought like that.
Yeah, everyone would fight each other 6, 7, 8 times, and it'd be a 50-50 split. Who was ever on that day was going to win.
And whoever didn't get knocked out in training, who got knocked out like the furthest amount of time from that tournament.
Yes.
Because those guys were just destroying their chins.
Yes.
If you think about it, I mean, how could you get knocked out and then get knocked out again a month later? That's fucking crazy.
The Mark Hunts, remember Mark Hunt?
Yes.
Back when he was him and Ray Sefu standing toe to toe, dropping their hands, taking pot shots at each other's chin, and just standing there and smiling. And then another rally, it was that's the sort of stuff that made it legends.
And that was when Mirko Krokop first started fighting K1. He was so skinny.
Yes.
Remember how thin he was?
Yes.
That was, I guess he wasn't lifting weights or anything back then, maybe, or just wasn't as much, or and then he had to put on weight as well.
Poor old Jerome Labana was always the bridesmaid.
Yes.
Always doing the business, and then when it always came to the 8-man, he'd never quite successfully
get close.
Get close.
You remember when he almost won, but he broke his arm against Hoost?
Ooh.
Shattered his forearm.
Yep.
Fuck, man. Those were some amazing, amazing fights. And again, that's something that a lot of Americans just never experienced.
Yeah, this is
didn't air over here.
Before the UFC era came, that was the pinnacle. That was the combat. That was combat sports.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it was before the UFC, because it was before Pride.
Yeah.
It was before the UFC. That was the big martial arts event, was the K1 Grand Prix.
Yes.
When you'd win, you get that big trophy, and the fucking confetti would come from the sky, and the giant check. You remember that shit? Remember the giant checks?
Yes.
Where'd the giant checks go?
I got a giant check.
I would like to see a giant check come back.
I got a $1 million baht giant check.
Oh, wow.
Up in my gym, what I'm quite proud of.
From Thailand?
From Thailand. So
wow.
$1 million baht.
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks good.
All those zeros.
Someone says, how much is it? Nah, don't ask. That doesn't matter.
It's not about money.
Look at all those zeros. Who cares how much it's worth? And it's in Thai, so who
You're
cares?
missing the point, son. It's not about money. It's about giant checks.
Yeah, so back in the K1 was cool.
But you think of K1 only paying out $500,000 to the winner.
Yes.
Fuck, man. That's a lot of money they're making at 90,000 seats.
Yes. So I don't know.
What's 90,000 times 10? Is that 9 million? 90 million?
900,000.
No.
Just add a zero.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's more than 10 for the gate, though. Like, what's the gate?
It's usually, I don't know, probably 20, 30, 40 bucks a ticket, plus concessions and parking and all that extra
Right.
stuff.
So 90,000 times 10 is only 900,000, but it's way more than $10 a ticket, right?
Oh, yeah, you're
it's
buying
probably
ringside,
$100,
you're gonna go
which
back,
is a $9 million gate. But then ringside's probably way more than $100. Like ringside at the UFC can be as much as like $500, maybe even more, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like a big boxing match, I know that. Well, a lot of it's like scalpers too, right? You never know.
Well, MGM, I paid to watch George St. Pierre versus Hendricks. I paid $500, and I was up in the bleachers. My nose actually bled. That's how high up I was.
Your nose actually bled?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that was because you probably got punched in that nose fairly recently. I bet if my nose was up there, it wouldn't have bled.
The oxygen levels were so low that I started getting dizzy.
That's ridiculous.
I had to duck under a plane.
Who the fuck gets a nosebleed on a mountain? Is that shit real? Do you get nosebleeds when you go to a mountain? I don't get nosebleeds. You get a nosebleed on a plane?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's the
pressure, right?
Pressurized.
Cabin, right?
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, but I've never heard anybody get a nosebleed in the nosebleeds.
Well, when you jump out of a plane, you don't get nosebleeds.
Really?
When you parachute.
Maybe you, bro. Not me, bro. Well, you didn't know me then, man. I would have hooked you up with better seats. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, such an important fight. You want to be close.
Well, I think I told you last time the lady bought me my ticket for free to go and be part of because I wasn't going to go at all. And then, the lady bought my ticket. So, but then I bought the ticket to watch the fight. So it was, But anyway, it was...
Fights are so interesting live because you get this energy from being there in that arena that you can't reproduce it watching it at home. And I don't think people that see it at home will ever truly know what it's like to see a live fight, because also there's something that gets, like, I remember the first time I went to see a boxing match, I remember thinking like, oh, there's no commentary. This is weird. Like there's something that sterilizes it a little bit about hearing Jim Lampley here, ABC Wide World of Sports, or whatever the fuck it was back in the day when I was watching boxing, and then to go see a boxing match live, you're like, oh, there's no one talking. You know, you're just hearing thump, 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 bang. You know, you're seeing someone, like I was there when Mickey Ward, confusing people. Mickey Ward was coming up in Lowell, Massachusetts, before he ever had those crazy fights, a series of fights with Arturo Gatti.
Yep.
I saw him fight when he was a really young professional, and we saw him fight in Lowell. Me and my buddy Jimmy Lawless went to see him fight live. It was just like being there in like a small arena, with a local hometown guy, and see a local boxing match and hear the slap of leather on faces and bodies. It's such a different experience than watching it on television, which is like so much more. Seems like it's not really happening.
Yeah.
Or even if it's happening, even if it's brutal, you're not there.
Same with our local promotion that I'm doing now with my wife with the CMT. You feel
CMT meaning caged Muay Thai.
Caged Muay Thai. So you actually you feel the fight while you're in the room. Yeah. You're not only watching it, but you're flinching as someone get hit. Your hairs are up on your body and back of your neck. You got goosebumps. You can't not look away from the cage because at any given second someone's going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have that when you're watching on TV. You're looking at your phone. You're looking up. You're looking down. But while you're there live, you can feel the atmosphere. You can smell the atmosphere. You can smell the tile. It's a different beast when you're present.
The Thai oil, that like the liniment. Yeah, what does that shit do? Does that shit do anything?
Yeah, it warms you up. It's nice and warm, so you massage into the skin so that you're nice and loose. So when you're shadow boxing, your body's on fire. So you feel instead of skipping for 10 minutes, you put the Thai oil on, you rub it in, and then you're already warm.
My friend who's a doctor told me, listen, man, if that shit did anything, it would get into your muscles itself, and you'd be poisoned.
Really?
I go, really? He goes, yeah, it's called a topical analgesic. It heats up your skin. It doesn't do a damn thing.
Yeah,
I went, really?
If you got a light sweat and you put that stuff on, you're on fire. You're gonna try and put yourself under a hose and try and cool yourself off.
But let me ask you this: if that's the case, how can you put that stuff on your skin and then you're clinching? And if you're clinching, that stuff can get in someone's eyes. No?
Maybe.
It does.
Yeah, it does. But you're massaging in 15 minutes before you walk out.
Right,
So
but
by the
then
time
if you're grabbing and you're fighting for the plum, right, and you've got that shit on your forearms, and this guy turning away, and it gets in his eyes, does that happen to you?
By the time you get onto the ring, it's absorbed. So
I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
That's why you can't use it in the UFC. UFC in the early days, man, dudes would just grease.
Yeah, and we can put Vaseline all over our body as well, between the liniment and the Vaseline all over. So you come out and you're shining and you're glossy and you're and then you're catching the kicks and you can pull out of the catches. And
right.
And then, the only thing is, if you're the last fight of the night, so if you teep someone in the stomach and then you put your foot on the canvas. And then if
you get oil all over the canvas.
By the time you're the last fight, the canvas is just an ice skating rink. It's terrible. And if you got logos on the canvas as well, between the Vaseline and the stickers, and then it's a complete nightmare.
Well, that was a nightmare in MMA for a while, that they would have all these ads on the octagon, and they would spray these ads down with spray paint essentially, or like an iron-on, and it wouldn't absorb like canvas. For people who don't know, canvas, when you get it wet, actually you get more traction. It's actually kind of nice, which is why when you watch MMA fights, sometimes you see guys pour water on the ground and then they'll move their feet on the water because maybe their skin is dry and they want to get their skin nice and moist, and it actually give you like a little traction. A dry canvas sometimes can be slippery, especially a fresh canvas.
Yes.
But those fucking logos are the worst.
Especially
those things are terrible.
If they're stickers and not painted on.
Yes, if they're stickers, that vinyl, because it doesn't absorb any moisture. So the moisture sits on. If you step on it, whip, and then you're scared to throw and kick. So for a kicker who doesn't want to go to the ground, it's a nightmare. It's a mess. Then you're one of your biggest weapons has been removed.
Yeah, it's good if you've got a lazy eye, because then you can watch one canvas and then watch your opponent the same thing.
He's joking. You can't do that if you have a lazy eye, right? What the fuck? Do you have to pick which eye you look through?
I used to have a girlfriend that had a lazy eye.
Oh, how dare you. A joke's coming.
I had to get rid of her because she was seeing other people.
I knew that joke, and you fucking got me with it anyway, you son of a bitch. How dare you?
Yes.
How dare you?
Yes.
I knew that one coming.
Yes.
I knew that joke, but I knew first of all, I knew a joke was coming because you had here's a joke coming look in your face. And I heard that one, but I forgot it. Fucking marijuana. That's what it is. Forgot the long-term memory. Got me.
Damn. So I gotta try and keep my brain intact so I can try and be funny like you. So that's why I want another thing on longevity in this sport.
Well, your brain's amazingly intact for 120 fights. That's incredible. If you tell most people, what's a guy gonna be like 39 years old? He has 120 fights. Oh, fucking guy can't even wipe his own ass. He's gotta hire people to do that. Look at you. You're fine.
Yeah.
But what do you think that is just because of all that sparring as well? That you know, very technical, what we call playing, where you're just tapping each other, not hard, you know, Ramon Decker Dutch style fighting in the gym every day, but instead just like working on technique.
Well, I've heard different theories with boxers, for instance. Boxers will spar for twice a week, 3 times a week, leading up to a fight for 10 weeks, and then their brain damage is caused from the sparring, and not the actual fight, but the actual preparation. And then times that by 30, 40 fights. Well, how many fighters have more than 40 fights in boxing? Right. So I don't know. I've been hit with a lot of hard shots where a lot of people say, how come a normal person would be knocked out and you didn't? I guess it's just luck. I have nothing but
luck that you have a good chin.
Lucky that it's not gone yet.
Good chin is really for, you know,
Cosmo whacked me hard.
Yeah, he certainly did.
He didn't miss. He got me multiple times.
That flying knee, man.
Yeah,
that one flying knee, was at the second round that he caught you with that? I don't remember what round it was. Second or third round, he hit you with a flying knee. But, you know, never had you hurt, never had you down, never had you wobbly.
Yeah, the cuts hurt, but at the same time, there wasn't one point in the fight where I thought, I can't go on. It's like, no. Every time he hit me hard, I was more so, I got to get it back.
And there's a difference between the phrase "had you hurt" and "something hurt." Like people listen to that and they go, "Well, of course he got hurt. He got hit. You already said he had all these stitches." When someone says in the fighting world he was hurt, it means his body's not functioning right. Like you got whacked and all of a sudden you see your legs go rubber, or you see a guy cover up maybe to a liver shot and you realize he's hurt. Yeah, he's hurt.
I was never winded or never at a point where I thought, if I get hit one more time I'm going to go down. There was no point whatsoever during the fight that I was getting hit, but at the same time there was never not a moment where I thought I can't not win this fight. Until the bell rang, and then it's like, okay, now I'm out of time.
When you watched the fight in the replay, did that 4th round incident where you cracked him with that punch and he started cleaning his feet, did that drive you fucking nuts?
I haven't watched the fight yet.
Oh,
I'm so disappointed in myself.
You're going to be very angry when you watch that 4th round.
Build the courage up to build the courage up to watch it, because I'm still trying to get over it. It's heartbreaking when you lose, man. It sucks.
I can only imagine preparing like that.
You've invested that 10 weeks, and then all you want, I can taste it. I want it. I can feel the belt around my waist. I want to. And then when the decision comes and they raise the opposition's hand, it's so heartbreaking. And then look at people's faces that believed in you as well. Like Hans, he came on board with Monster just before this fight come up. So again, I've got to thank them for coming on board as well. But
Monster energy drinks.
Yeah, Monster. Like for them to sponsor a Muay Thai guy.
It's great.
It's like I want to win to be, for them to be proud to have their logo on my shorts. Mm-hmm. And then when you lose, I got to look at Hans in the face and think, fuck, man, I'm sorry I let you down.
Listen, man, you didn't let anybody down. You fought a great fight against a world class fighter. I mean, Cosmo Alexander's a bad motherfucker. Yeah, you fought a great fight.
But you know what I mean. It's so many
it is
people.
What it is, yeah.
And then my little girl, she's 12 years old. She's sitting front row. And then my wife said, "Oh yeah," she was in tears because she used to see Dad winning. So when Dad's not only did he lose, but he's cut up and he's limping and he's broken. It sucks. Yeah,
but it doesn't diminish your enthusiasm for wanting to compete.
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm fighting Cyrus on the 5th of December. So once my foot's healed, I'll get back to Australia. I'll get back on the roads, back on the pads, and now I'm more determined to make up for this loss. I want to make sure that I'm not only going to beat Cyrus, but I have to go out there and destroy him to get back my credibility as one of the top guys.
Are you still fighting that Black Dynamite dude?
Yes, Cyrus.
That's his name, Cyrus.
Yeah, so that's
what is his full name?
Cyrus Washington.
Cyrus.
Yeah, Cyrus.
Cyrus. Okay, that's where I got confused.
Yeah.
You were saying Soros. I was saying Soros.
Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But Cyrus, it's a goddamn Australian accent.
Yeah.
Cyrus Washington is he's a wild
who
dude.
has the accent? If you were in my country, you'd have the accent.
Good point.
Yes.
I'll be in your country soon. I'll be in your country next month.
So Cyrus in the cage,
Cyrus
MMA gloves, Muay Thai rules.
That's
but he's a
different
killer
world.
too. He's another killer. He's
Yeah.
he's exactly like the gentleman you're saying from Glory with the Daniel with the spinny kicks and the hook kicks and the crazy style
But he's more adapted to Muay Thai.
Yes.
Cyrus has.
Yes.
You know, he's a wild guy to watch, man. He does a lot of crazy shit. A lot of spinning back kicks to the body,
I put
wheel
up
kicks.
a highlight reel of his on Facebook the other day, and the amount of people that watched it, I'm just like, what are you doing fighting this guy for? And it's because he's good. Why do I want to fight him? Because he's awesome.
Yes.
He's going to bring such an entertaining fight for the Australian crowd that they're going to be crazy if they don't come along and watch it, because this is going to be madness.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, and he's a black belt in Taekwondo, as well as being very proficient at Muay Thai at a world-class level, and combining those two things together is very interesting. It's
He's
like we were
doing
talking
the bare
about.
knuckle boxing now as well.
Yeah.
He's fighting with headbutts.
Whoa.
Bare knuckle boxing with headbutts.
Whoa, where's he doing that?
Either Cambodia or
Jesus
Burma.
Christ.
Yeah. So
What happens when you get hurt and you got to go to the hospital in Cambodia? I mean, they just give you your own chicken. Here, do your own voodoo. They give you a ball of yarn and a fish hook. Stitch yourself together, bitch. We're done. Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah. So hopefully he doesn't have his natural instinct to try and headbutt me in the clinch.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
So yeah,
Well, how many fights does he do like that?
From his Facebook record that I shared when the match first got made, he was like 70 with 50 wins, 47 knockouts. So
Jesus Christ!
But I believe he said a few more fights than that. He said, "Oh, that's actually my older record. It's actually this now." But when I got off his Facebook, and then people going, "What? You're 39. You're not in your prime anymore. Why would you fight someone so dangerous for?" It's because I want to give the Australian public and the fans fights that you're gonna not want to miss.
When people say that you're not in your prime, though, you still fight like you're in your prime.
I feel like I'm in my prime.
You're not fighting like when I watched you fight. I'm watching you fight Cosmo, who's a big, strong guy, and you're not fighting like a guy who's over the hill.
Yeah.
You're fighting like a cautious, smart veteran who's facing a very dangerous, fast guy.
Yeah.
And you fought very well. It wasn't like a fight like, oh man, this guy's lost a step. It wasn't like that, man. You know, I'm an honest dude. If I see someone losing a step, it makes me very concerned, because that trying to pretend that didn't happen is super dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't see that with you.
The only time that I feel old is when someone asks me, because in the gym I feel like I'm still 25, but when someone says how old are you, and then when I hear the word leave my lips and I say 39, it's like, fuck. That's
Do you attribute that to consistency, or I mean, you're very clean with your diet? Like, what is it?
I don't know. I don't know. Just
What's your diet like?
it's okay. My wife's half Mexican American, so she cooks me
A lot of
lots
tacos and shit.
Lots of tacos, lots of tacos, lots of Thai food, lots of Asian, lots of Japanese. We
Do you avoid anything? Like, do you avoid sugar or alcohol or?
Opium, heroin.
Those are bad things.
Try to stay away from those
That's
stuff.
good to stay away from, especially right before a fight.
I try.
Well, they're very compelling. I hear.
No, but no, everything's. I eat hamburgers. I can't say that I'm a saint. I'm definitely, but I don't drink. I don't really. I'm lucky to have 5 beers a year, so I stay off the alcohol.
That'll help. That'll help a lot. That adds longevity. Do you get like hopeful when you see a guy like Bernard Hopkins, fucking 50 years old?
Yes, I do. He's probably that guy. And then also, like you were saying before, Randy Couture. He's also a gentleman that's proving that you can still fight with the guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, he won like at a world championship level deep into his 40s.
Yeah, and then again, another gentleman that can put a conversation together that's had all these fights. And Bernard Hopkins, again, it's just... Yeah,
Randy is completely lucid.
Yeah,
when you're talking to him, he's articulate. He's a gentleman,
entrepreneur.
You know?
He's not silly. He's making money from different avenues. So
I saw him hitting the pads the other day. He was working out with Jay Glazer. It's a guy who does the NFL for Fox, and Jay was holding the pads for him, and Randy was hitting him. And I was like, I wonder what the fuck he's doing. I wonder if he sees Fedor, and he's like, listen, man, I'll fucking take that one big fight, because shit, he could probably make a shitload of money.
Yeah, even Shane Mosley.
But Randy might still be under contract. He might like still have like some UFC contract thing going on. I don't know.
Didn't Dana expel him from UFC, or he's not allowed to enter the arenas anymore, or something?
I don't know. That's sad to me. How do you do that? That guy can do whatever the fuck he wants if I'm running the UFC.
Yeah.
You're Randy Couture. Go fight your mom. I don't give a shit. You always get ringside seats. You know, that's Captain America. I don't know. I don't know. But if he did come back, it would be weird. Because he's been off for a long time, and the last time he fought, I believe, was in Toronto at the Rogers Arena, and he got jumping front kicked in the face by Lyoto Machida, and he got knocked out.
Machida, that was the famous Steven Seagal.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that anyone has ever won by a front kick to the face, and Steven Seagal invented it.
Well, jumping front kick to the face.
Jumping front
Anderson had won by a front kick to the face before when he fought Vitor.
I apologize.
Yeah.
That was the Steven Seagal. Sorry,
Have you ever tried a jumping front kick to the face in a Muay Thai fight?
Jumping front kick? No, but I landed a front. I used to try and land one front kick to the face every fight as like as a trademark thing back when I was in my early.
Really?
Yeah. That was my thing, to try and land one.
Well,
actually, my wife, she was known as Hang on. What is it? So her Thai name translated was the beautiful face, the beautiful front kick face, the beautiful front kick face tipper.
Well, I bet it sounds cooler in Thai. How do you say it in Thai? Jom Teep Na. Wow. Thai's a beautiful language.
So her thing was
it's so much better than beautiful front kick facer.
And then she broke a couple of girls' noses with the heel striking to the nose, and she's awesome. My wife's really amazing when it comes to fighting.
It's interesting because the Thais use the teep to the face almost like the flat part of the foot more, and almost like a push kick.
Yes.
You know, like to push you back.
Yeah, very rarely would you see someone get actually knocked out from it. You can see the head get snapped, but you wouldn't see actually get knocked out. So
yeah, they don't throw it like a karate style front kick.
No,
like a Semi Schultz always used to throw it to the body.
Yes.
He would throw it like a thrust kick, a different style of kicking.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder why the Thais never threw it like that. Because obviously, when you watch Anderson versus Vitor, it's the same kick. It's just done with a slightly different style, and it's very effective.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It was nuts. And then for Machida to replicate that same kick not long later, it was like, damn, these things that's pretty cool.
And never see it again. I mean, you see guys attempt it, but there's not been a single knockout in. Justin Buchholz got a knockout, I think, in Ring of Fire. I think that's where he fought, which is an organization, Sven Bean's organization in Colorado. I think that's where he's one of the alpha male. Uriah Faber's camp, one of the trainers there, one of the fighters. I really think he's a fight this weekend. He might have fought this weekend. But you very rarely see guys knock guys out with it these days. Like it was those two fights, Justin's fight, and I can't remember another knockout since in the UFC. People try it, but it hasn't been utilized as effectively. What do you got there for me?
There we go.
Ha ha ha! There you are, John Wayne Parr, Cosmo Alexander. Bam.
T.
Front kick to the face. Hey! What is that thing that they always do when people throw kicks? They go, hey!
In Australia, we call that a high five to the face with your foot.
Oh, okay. That's a little awkward. You should try to make something a little more eloquent. Come up with a better name. Monster must like that, though. You highlighted the M on your shorts.
Yeah, it's
perfect.
Cool. Cool.
That's a perfect picture for the wall, right?
I was quite happy that Cosmo was kind enough to stand there for me for the photo shoot to let me execute the front kick to that one.
Very nice of him. What a gentleman he is. What a gentleman he is.
I'll have to upload that one to Instagram later on so everyone can check it out.
So your fight for Cage Muay Thai, you guys are using the small gloves.
Yes.
And using the Muay Thai gloves. Are you the only organization that has full striking with Muay Thai rules, but with MMA gloves?
I believe so. And then a gentleman, Martin Hogan in Ireland. He's seen my promotion, then he's started it as well. And then he's done 3 shows so far in Ireland. And his last show, Conor McGregor and what's the other gentleman from Iceland that that fights.
Gunnar Nelson?
Gunnar was there as well, and they were both in the crowd. And I think they were both blown away by the adrenaline of the cage, because it's so exciting and it's so fast and there's no ground. And then if there's no action on the fence, within 5 seconds it's broken up. So it's just continuous violence. So,
do you like the breaking it up though with the clinch? Because in Muay Thai, in real Muay Thai, they don't break it up.
If there's no action, so if you're throwing knees and it becomes a stalemate within 2 or 3 seconds, if there's no action, they break it straight away. Whereas
only if there's no action.
Whereas in MMA, you can press someone against the phrase and
just hold on to them
and hold.
Well, the UFC usually will stop it and separate you,
eventually.
But I honestly believe that, especially in MMA, since grappling is such an integral part of mixed martial arts, I don't think they should ever break things up. I think if a guy's got you down, he's just holding you down, that's tough shit. You got to figure out how to get up. Yeah. I don't think it should score very well for the guy on top, but I really don't. I don't believe in stand-ups because I feel like, especially for a striker, right? You have 5 minutes, and every round starts standing up. Every round starts with your advantage. No round starts on the ground. You never start where, like, okay, this round, John, you're on top. You start on top because he was like, no, but every round starts standing up. And that's the advantage of the striker. The grappler has to figure out how to get a hold of him, how to get him to the ground. I think once you've done that, it's the guy on the ground's business to try to get back up. People go, oh, that's fucking boring. You're gay. You like for fucking guys. I'm just saying there's only 5 minutes, okay? And for grappling, 5 minutes is not that long. If you were grappling with another guy who was also at your level in grappling, and you guys were tangling for 5 minutes, if you're both at the same level, there's going to be a lot of stalemates, and it takes little incremental improvements and advances for you to get to a position where you finally get to a mount, or you finally get an armbar, you finally get a choke. It's hard to do. And you can't do it if you keep standing people up when they stalemate. Yeah. Because stalemate's a part of grappling. It's like it's your job to figure out, if you're on the bottom, how to get up or how to submit them from your back. It's the guy's job on the top to hold you down and to figure out how to get you in a better position and to dominate you and to figure out how to submit you. Yeah. But it's not enough time. 5 minutes is not enough time.
Yeah. The same when pressed against the fence, when sometimes when they're stuck there for more than 2 minutes.
When the guys get impatient, then they make mistakes.
Yes.
Like if a guy's pressing you up against the cage and he's kneeing your legs and he's hitting you with short elbows and you're just waiting for the referee to separate. If the referee doesn't separate, you might do something silly. You might make a mistake. And that's what they're trying to do. Like Randy Couture was the master at that, at holding guys up against the cage. But he didn't get it. They didn't separate him very often because he was constantly moving. He'd be constantly punching you, constantly kneeing your body, kneeing your legs. He was working you, and he was pushing on you and wearing you out. That was a big part of his strategy. And I just feel like, with MMA, they're trying really hard to make it more fan-friendly. Yes. And they're trying really hard to make the action more exciting to watch. But I think in doing so, you water down the art a little bit. And there's an art with two guys trying to figure out what to do to each other to defend and to attack and figure out who can win.
Yep.
I don't know. That's just my feeling. But I think if you're going to have pure stand-up, just pure stand-up striking, I think what you're doing is the best way to do it.
Hey, nice.
I think small gloves, and I think doing it in a cage, where you don't have to worry about guys falling through the ropes.
Yes.
Like I've seen that in a lot of events, especially when guys start clinching and they get up against a rope and maybe their butt goes through like two ropes and they slid back, or maybe they're ducking away from a punch and they wind up falling out of the ropes. It happens too much.
Yeah, I've seen. I was at a local Muay Thai show in the ring, and they had two gentlemen that were clinching away, and the other guys. They've fallen straight through the center, and then they had the judges' table right beside the ring, and they had all the trophies lined up, and it was those trophies where the angel was on top of the trophy with their hands clasped together, and it was like razors, and the guy's head missed the trophy by inches, and it flopped onto the desk. And if it had been a little bit to the left, he would have been pierced straight through his eye. It would have been, it would have been detrimental.
Why the fuck would they have sharp objects right next to the ring when guys are throwing each other around? That would have been horrific.
Oh, it was definitely sickening. So I always make sure with our shows now, our trophies are under the table. That was a learning curve. But
Bernard Hopkins fell. Well, no, he didn't fall. Didn't he fall out of the ring
he
once?
fell out and broke his
That's
right.
His
shoulder.
Yeah.
But in the cage, from a personal experience, I've had 118, 19 fights in the ring. But to be locked in that cage, not as a spectator, but as a fighter, it's such a different atmosphere and a different arena, and it definitely brings out a completely different beast. And then when you know your opponent's wearing those little gloves, every single sense in your body is tingling, because you know if you make a mistake, you're going to be completely dominated or wiped out or knocked unconscious. So
what do you think about bare knuckle?
Bare knuckle, I haven't tried it, and it sounds very painful. Yeah, and then because my hands too, I think the idea of smacking someone in the forehead with bare knuckle wouldn't be healthy for my longevity. So I like the idea with having hand wraps and having the small gloves and having because with my CMT gloves, it's half padding, half gel. So it's almost a 6 ounce instead of a 4. So it's not like a complete, but it's still fingerless.
Did you design them?
I had them talked with a company in Australia that helped design them, make them thicker, because I as a promoter, I didn't want to have someone dying on my show. So I made it a thicker padding, because there's no taking down, there's no holding.
Right.
It's just complete trauma for 5 rounds. So
well, the argument is, I mean, I see what your point is, but the argument is that, you're saying you wouldn't want to break your hands on someone's forehead. The argument is that you could throw a shin kick with full power. So shin, which is much more powerful than a punch, shin to the head, right? Knee to the head, elbows to the head.
Yes.
Why do you allow someone to tape up their wrist and form an unnatural bond, right? And then tape up their hands and make it nice and hard so you can punch full blast. Whereas the reality is, the hands should be used judiciously, because there's not a lot of room for error. If you do make a mistake and you punch full blast and you hit someone in an elbow, they cover up like that, and your knuckle slamming to the elbow, you might shatter your hand.
Yeah.
You might shatter your hand on their forehead. You might shatter your hand in a lot of different ways. And you have to be way more clean with your strikes, and it makes it more realistic.
Yes.
And a lot of people think that would actually alleviate a lot of the brain damage.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Just my hands are sort of. I've had a little bit of difficulties in the past with them, so it's
Right.
nice. That's nice. It's reassuring that when I have the hand wraps on, that's keeping my wrist into a nice firm place. So when I punch wrong, that I'm not going to break my hand.
Okay, but
and just having that cushioning over the top of the knuckles, because the knuckles are so sensitive that I've broken them before. So. It's just, and I know if my hands are wrapped properly, that I can hit it with full force and not have any repercussions.
does that argument make sense to you, though?
It does. But I think there'd be more open hand slaps like Bass.
Bas Rutten and Tom Crace, yeah.
Yes. Well, his style was pretty insane. You wouldn't want to punch with a closed fist. You'd definitely be wanting
To the body, maybe you would, right?
to high five someone's face with your palm.
But then you'd have a lot of eye pokes. That's a real issue with MMA.
Yes.
Even
at
with,
CMT, we've
You have
had a
it?
few pokes as well. So
yeah,
it's-
man. I
it's-
wish they figured something out to fix that.
Yeah,
That drives me
that's the
nuts.
only danger. What I'm doing with the CMT gloves is with the fingerless, because a lot of people are saying, "Well, why are you doing it?" There's so many problems with the UFC and the pikes. Why do you want to bring that same element into what you're doing with the cage? But at the same time, if you wear boxing gloves in the cage, it just looks so dumb. It looks it does, because you spend
Right.
every single weekend watching UFC, and then you're trying to get the same respect from the MMA fans for what you're doing and with what we're in with Muay Thai rules. And you got these big pillows on, yet the UFC guys wearing the fingerless ones.
Well, is it possible that you could do something that's not fingerless, but that's also very light, that it looks like a bag glove? You know?
But it's the visual. I
Right.
think it's the visual that sells. And as a fighter as well, I know when I put them on, I feel like I'm a warrior. It's a weird thing to try and explain, but it's just I know that when I close my fists and then when I clinch, I know that I have my fingers and I can catch the kicks a lot easier and manipulate the guard, so I can throw elbows easier as well. So it's
You also have to
it's
be.
a different element of fighting. I've had so many fights with gloves, and then you put these little things on, and then the bell rings, and then I feel free, because when I'm training, I train for 10 weeks with no gloves. When I'm clinching, I train when I play spar with the kicks, and then when all of a sudden I'm restricted when I put boxing gloves on, and then I can't execute the same game plan when I'm training to when I'm fighting. Does that make sense? Do you know
It
what I mean?
does make sense, but why wouldn't you just train with the gloves?
The boxing gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the cage though, in the cage, it's just
I see your point about it not looking right.
Yeah,
I definitely see your point.
Yeah, I want the MMA people to look at my promotion and say, yeah, fuck yeah, that's cool.
Right. It's everything that they want out of MMA.
Yes.
That especially like people that don't like the ground game. It's everything they want. They want wild, crazy stand-up
I'm not going to get their
striking.
respect if I wear boxing gloves. I need to make it the same environment with everything the same. Just eliminate the ground so those strikers have a platform to fight in that same arena.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many I get so many emails from people that want to fight on the show because they want to feel that rush of the cage. They want to feel that rush of MMA gloves. But there's no platform for them to do it besides mine. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of a transition.
It's like the gladiator days where you're fighting in the Colosseum.
Don't they do that in Thailand? They do like one where they wrap the hands. They do like big
yes.
crazy hand wraps.
Yes, they've just started that in the last few years. Also, Thai fight is called the same deal with the hand wraps as well. And but it's in a ring still. So it's
in a ring, and they have big giant hand wraps. They're not totally.
Yeah. I've heard rumors that there may or may not be a MMA glove similar sort of style underneath, or if it's a softer cotton, or it's not like pure.
Well, it's big.
Yeah, it's big.
Those are big hand wraps. It's not like as simple as like the regular wrap that you would wear when you're boxing.
Yeah, and it's not a cage.
Under a glove. It's not a cage.
Not a cage.
You think the cage is a big selling element? Yeah.
I know when I walk into an arena, I see a ring. It's like, yeah, the fight's tonight, you beauty, I'm excited. I walk into an arena and I see a cage, and it's like, oh, someone's gonna get fucked up tonight. It's gonna be, it's a different beast. You walk into that arena and it's a different animal.
It's funny you say that because that was always like a thing that people thought was holding MMA back, because MMA was in a cage and people didn't like the idea of cage fighting, in quotes, cage fighting.
But look at it now. It's a $1 billion business. It's UFC. The UFC is not MMA in general, but UFC.
Only UFC. You know, there was an article that was recently out about the World Series of Fighting, which has some really good fighters in it. The World Series of Fighting, you know, there's some super high level guys in the World Series of Fighting. You watch some real good fights, and they're not making any money. They're losing money. They're on NBC Sports, you know, and I don't know how much NBC Sports pays them, but there was some article on the Underground about them losing money and being in dire financial straits. And for me as a fan, I hate hearing that because I want guys to have options. Because when guys get cut from the UFC, a lot of times they'll go to World Series of Fighting, one of these other organizations like Jake Shields or John Fitch, and you know they build up, win a few fights over there, and maybe they can come back to the UFC. And I like hearing that. I want to see that. That's what happened to Arlovsky.
Anthony Johnson. He
fought Arlovsky in the World Series of Fighting.
Yes.
I like that. That has to be available, and it can't be available if these guys aren't making any money.
It's the same in Australia. I love UFC. I love it. I'm there every single weekend. I'm buying all the pay-per-views. I'm watching all the replays. I love your commentary. I love every single thing about it. And then I go to a local MMA show, and I'm bored shitless.
Yeah.
They got two guys that, and then it's Australia too, because we don't wrestle. So within 10 seconds, they're both on the ground, and they don't have the skill set to stand back up, and they sort of get stuck for 5 minutes. But when you watch UFC, they're at such a high level that it's like two worms. Next minute they're up again, they're down. The jiu-jitsu is so crazy, the striking so amazing. You got the Cerrones, and it's such a. And then what I want to do with the CMT too, I've heard Dana White say in interviews, if any competition promotion had any brains, they'd steal everything that I'm doing in the UFC and try and replicate that for their own promotion, because what we're doing is a winning formula. So that's what I want to try and do with my show. I'm trying to bring internationals in. I'm trying to create every single aspect as much as I can similar, but in the striking world. So,
do you think that that's what you be your primary focus when you retire, promoting like cage Muay Thai?
Yeah, my life is fighting, whether I'm doing it or promoting it or teaching it or seminars or I have no other interest outside of fighting. That is all I do, and then that's my wife's life as well. Between us, I don't know. I don't even know if there is a world outside of fighting.
I hear there is. When you watch MMA and say you watch like UFC, a high level UFC, what is the one thing that you think that when you see striking,
Yep.
Is there anything that bugs you? Is there things that you watch that you see people doing wrong, or things you would like to see them improve upon?
No, I enjoy warriors. I enjoy people that are willing to put it all on the line. Even gentlemen such as Diego Sanchez, like his striking to me isn't elite, but at the same time he drops his hands, he calls his opponent on, he screams at him, he runs in. For me, that's excitement. It doesn't have to be technical or textbook. But to have that adrenaline dump of sitting there and watching him for a whole round just going crazy.
Oh, he's nuts.
For me, that's amazing.
He's one of my all-time favorites for sure because of that.
And then John Jones, again, like you're saying, different elements of his elbow strikes. Gustafsson, for another example. Everyone has their Anthony Johnson. Again,
he's a monster.
His boxing, you wouldn't say is textbook boxing, but at the same time, if he hits you, you're out.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love it. That's why I love it, because I'm on the edge of my seat every single. That's what UFC is so good too. You don't have to wait till the main event to watch the fights. You can sit there from the prelims to the last fight and enjoy every single fight, because you know that every single fight is going to be completely different to the last.
Yeah, but no question about that. But as a world-class striker, when you watch guys in the UFC, do you see holes in their style, or when you watch MMA, it doesn't even have to be UFC, like just any MMA, but do you see, like, what do you think about the level, when you're coming from a world championship Muay Thai fighter's perspective? What do you think about the level of kickboxing and MMA?
If it was pure kickboxing rules, it's different kettle of fish, but it's entertaining. I watch it for the end. Yeah, it's I can't say it's good or bad, because what they do works.
And also, you have to consider the fact that they're avoiding takedowns and things along those lines.
There's so many different elements. And for me to say this is good, this is bad, I would be disrespecting the sport. So I'd rather. It's end of the day, it's entertainment, and that's why I invest my money every single weekend, because I love it. I think it's amazing. And I'm a Muay Thai guy. Yeah, I love UFC. So I just wish I was a young teenager that was starting out. I know
Learn
which
some
path.
wrestling.
I know which path I'd definitely go.
You'd go down the MMA path?
Because
it's so big.
I want to be the Anthony Pettis on the Wheaties box.
Right.
I'd love to be the George St. Pierre driving around in living in a penthouse and being in the NOS commercials and the Ronda Rousey, and it's big.
Do you plan on training MMA fighters? I mean, I know you work with George quite a bit.
I've worked with him once for the 2 weeks. That was pretty cool. I worked with a couple of gentlemen in Australia that are coming up. So, but if the opportunity arose and someone would like to shoot me an email, I'm happy to.
Now, all those training sessions that you did with George over that 2 weeks, which fight was that for again?
Hendricks. His very last one.
And what did you guys basically work on?
Hendricks was a southpaw, so we're working on keeping everything basic, and then lots of right hand left hooks, lots of inside thigh kicks with the right leg for the take out that lead southpaw leg, moving away from the power left hand because he's a monster, and then every time we spar, I replicate Johnny's sparring style. So I throw lots of overhand lefts, and just being that craziness exploding in. And then George was John Danaher. After a week of having George on the pads, he was blown away about how much power I was starting to get out of George's punches and kicks, and then freestyling on the pads that he'd never done before. And we had such a good time. But then I came too late. I came too early in the camp. There was still 14 weeks between our training session and the fight. So by the time I went back to Australia, he sort of went back to the old training regime. And then
what was the difference between your training? I had the pleasure of working out with you, and one of the things that I found was really interesting is that even when you throw a jab, you're throwing a jab almost like a right hand.
Yes.
You're throwing a jab like you're pulling back with your right hand and fucking thrusting with your left hand.
Yes.
And was that like the style that you were?
I had George. When George was double jabbing before, it was a long jab, short jab, whereas I had him cocking that shoulder for both jabs. So both of them were and they'll make them big cracking noise, bam, bam. Yeah, they were the power.
So you were trying to get him to be more aggressive with his power? Is that what you were concentrating on?
Yes, trying to execute, a lot more power shots, and just keeping it simple. So keeping it down to 4 or 5 different techniques against a southpaw, because against a southpaw you can't do the crazy tricks. You got to keep it basic but smart. So you don't want to run into that left power hand either. And then I believe he fought the wrong fight against Johnny. He was moving into the hand instead of away from the hand, and then he took a lot of damage. And I believe we talked about this last time as well. I believe George marginally just won that fight, but I think if I had stayed there for a little bit longer or closer to the fight, I could have got him away with less damage. Yeah.
Do you think that he maybe? Sorry. Do you think that he had one foot out the door? Because he was kind of saying after that fight that he's really, he's probably wants to take some time. I didn't want it retiring, but he wanted to take some time away, and that this was just, it was too much for him. Do you think that coming into that fight, maybe he had that in his head?
Possibly.
That's always a bad spot for a fighter to be at, right? Have one foot out the door.
Yeah, I was saying to my friend Kevin that it was the highlight of my training as a person. It was training George for those 2 weeks, and the first 3 days that I was with him, it was so mind-blowing that how famous he was. People coming up morning, taking photos, we're eating. And then after the 3rd day, 4th day, then you realize this machine doesn't turn off. And then he can't go to the chemist to buy shampoo. He can't.
Chemist?
That's
what you guys call a grocery store or pharmacy? Oh, you call it the chemist.
You got
like, where the fuck are you getting your shampoo?
Yeah. He might go into the toilets to pass stool, and you got people waiting at the side of the cubicle to wait to get a photo with him. So and then we got to, every time we went somewhere, it'd always have to be through the VIP entrance. He couldn't walk through the front door.
Especially in Montreal, right?
So one time we went to a nightclub, and then we've gotten in through the VIP, and then we're walking to our table, and then we're about maybe 15 feet from our table, and someone said, "Hey, GSP. And without a word of a lie, the whole dance floor stopped dancing. Everyone's looked at us, turned, and then the whole club's walked towards that table. And without losing a beat, we've turned straight back around and walked straight back out of the nightclub, because it was like a tsunami of fans that had just come in.
And he knew he wasn't going to be able to sit down.
Yeah, he said, we'll come back here in a couple of hours later when they're distracted. I can't come in right now because it's like this every day. This is normal. And he has his good friends that are his bodyguards that stand around him the whole time, because people say, "Can I get a photo?" And the bodyguards will step in and say, "Oh, no flashes." As soon as the flash goes off, then the whole club's going to come. And then George will say yes, and then the body goes, "Oh, sorry." "Oh, but George said yes." "Look, mate, you don't understand. If the camera goes and we got a problem."
Everybody's going to want a photo.
Yeah, everyone wants a photo. So, and even at a red light, we're driving in the car, me and George, got the radio on.
"Hey, pull over, picture!"
We stop at a red light, and all you hear is GSP. And to his credit, a champion is, he always looks, waves, smiles, and then slowly just drifts forward just a fraction, just so he's out of eyesight of the fans. But it's but that's
overwhelming.
Every single. He'd rather. From your car park even, he'd catch a taxi from the front gate to the back gate, because from walking 100 feet would be a half an hour with photos and handshakes and high fives, and people are rude. People are crazy. People just come up and they stick their phone in his face like this, and they don't, well, you know what it's like. You're a superstar. You'd have this every single day as well, surely.
Yeah, I don't have anybody sticking their phone directly in my face too often, but it's happened a few times.
Yeah.
But I think with George, it's a totally different thing, because he's a national hero as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he won Sportsman of the Year award in Canada, where hockey is like their national sport.
Yes.
And he won over hockey players. I mean, he was in these Gatorade commercials. I mean, he had transcended the sport to the point where he was a international superstar, and he's from Canada, and they're so proud of that in Canada. Canada is such a proud country that a guy like George is probably like 100 times more famous than me.
Yeah. Well, we went to New York for 1 week to train with John Danaher at the Gracie's at the Academy, and even in New York, it was no different. Montreal and New York was just as insane as each other. It was just
I would think Montreal would be probably a little bit more crazy, but at that level, I mean, George, when he was a champion especially, I wonder if he can get around now a little bit better.
Yeah, I hope so. But
maybe people just ask him questions. "When are you coming back, George? I heard you're going to fight Anderson Silva, George."
Yeah, and then even the websites. You notice all the. I read the MMA websites every single day, and then there's always at least once a week there's something about George is doing this, or he might come back, or this is happening, and so he's still relevant. He still hasn't disappeared yet. They still need him in that circle.
Well, he's still training.
Yeah, he's
I know
still a man.
Sage Northcutt was in TriStar recently, and he had done some training with George, and I think George still has a little bit of the itch, but
yeah, I'd love for him to come back. I think he is UFC, and he's such a great ambassador as well. He's not just
he's a gentleman,
not just a great fighter, but he represents everything good that's about combat sports.
Yeah, I agree. Everything good about martial arts, and he started as a martial artist. I mean, that's really what he is.
Yes,
and then that's why he would always go into the octagon with his gi on, and
yes.
the whole deal. He's a really unique guy. And no better ambassador like in his time to carry the flag.
Yes, and then a lot of people change after once they reach that superstardom, whereas George has always stayed grounded. And then people would come up, and some majority are great. And then some people, with the time that I spent with him, hey, every time I get a photo with a celebrity, I get carried, so pick me up. And he's like, oh, okay, there's your photo. Or
people are so fucking weird.
Or especially
every time I get a photo with celebrity, I fart on them.
Yeah.
Come on, George, get over here. I'm gonna fart on you real quick. Come on, George.
They might have had a few drinks and there's no politeness. Hey, I want a photo. Give me a photo. Or they just grab him like that Tyson highlight where they just grab him around the neck and give me a photo. There's people. There's no.
Out of their fucking mind.
And he doesn't change though. He's like, he doesn't like it, but at the same time he does it.
Yeah. Well, he's a good man.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
He's very open-minded too. I've watched him train with people.
I think I've seen you in a few confrontations on YouTube where people are a bit aggressive when it comes to asking for your stuff, and you have to give them a slight, hey, just.
No, necessarily. I don't think there's any YouTube videos of people like asking for photos or anything like that. It might be that I don't know of, but yeah, people get drunk. Yeah, alcohol is the worst drug in the world.
Yeah, alcohol.
It's the worst drug in the world for people to make mistakes under pressure too, because they see a guy like George and they're like, holy shit, it's George St. Pierre. I ain't scared of him. Like for whatever the stupid. Chuck Liddell used to get guys trying to pick fights with him.
Yeah.
With fucking Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell has a murderer's eye. Like you look in his eyes, there's a killer in there. And dudes get drunk and pick fights with him. People are so stupid.
Yeah.
Donald Cerrone was telling me some guy on the podcast was telling some guy punched him in the face in the Whole Foods parking lot.
Hey.
And he's like, what the fuck, man? And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, you just run into the wrong people, man, and booze and whatever the fuck else they're doing with their head. Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's a crapshoot out there when you meet the general public.
Yes, so about YouTube. Holy shit. Me and you had that little spar.
Yeah.
People are fucking crazy. Why do people get, they stay anonymous? Yeah, yet they have such an opinion that they have to. Me and you, we had an understanding. You had a sore back. You didn't want to spar, but you said, "Oh, look, fuck it, let's do it." And then we had the best 3 minutes. We laughed. We had fun. It was no big deal. I said, "Oh, you mind if I upload it?" You said, "Yeah, go for it." Yet everyone thinks it's so serious.
Well, they also think we're somehow upset at each other or something.
It was just.
For me, it was fun. It was fun to be able to.
For me, it was fun. It was cool.
It was a highlight of. We should have probably recorded the whole thing. It was a highlight of like an hour and a half of us training together. I was really impressed with a lot of the variations of techniques you do, like the way you throw the knee, especially. I never saw anybody throw a knee with like it completely sideways the way you did it, and the combinations in which you did it. So, I think in MMA or in any martial art, it's always cool when you get a chance to work with people and learn a bunch of different shit. And at the end of it, like throwing some light kicks and punches and stuff and moving around with each other, to me it was just fun.
You had a suspected bulging disc.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something fucked up with it, but it's better now.
So to take it like we were competing like a UFC title, it was a play spar in your garage for shits and giggles.
You can't read that though, man. You can't. You're reading the comments. You can't read those.
Yeah,
that's like opening yourself up to the retards of the world. Like, hey, retards, how do you feel I should govern my life? What should I do differently? Like, you don't know anything. You fucking loser. You should kill yourself, loser. You go eat some shit. Eat dicks. You just can't. You can't listen to that.
Yeah, I remember.
Just
I
can't
think I
react.
sent you a private message about 2 weeks later, going, "Dude, how do you put up with it?" And you said, just
Can't.
don't read it.
Yeah, how the fuck did that guy get to be a world champion? If he was sparring with me, bro, I'd open him up, bro.
And then then
people were correcting your technique. It was hilarious. Like, will you just please shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
See, there was a segment of you showing me a particular combination, and someone was saying that you were showing it wrong.
Oh yeah.
I was reading that, and I was like, "What am I reading this for? What am I doing? I'm not even taking my own advice." And meanwhile, if you found that guy, he probably weighs 6 pounds. He's in his mom's basement, shitting his own pants. Like, who knows who you're listening? When you read a sentence on the internet and it starts with a letter and it ends with a period, it looks like a normal person wrote it. And you just read it like if you wrote a sentence or if he wrote a sentence or some crazy dude who has no fucking grasp of reality at all, it still looks the same because it's a sentence. And you don't know, like when you read someone's opinion, you don't know what's that guy like. Like, that's the thing about opinions. There's always guys, and you know them, everybody knows them. There's always guys in the gym that'll see someone, and they probably don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they'll see someone hitting the bag, or they see someone doing a technique, and they'll come over and correct them, right? There's always those fucking morons. Yeah. You know, there's a million of those fucking morons, right? Well, when you meet that guy and you know he's an idiot and you know that guy from the gym, you can just go, "Oh, Mike is the guy who gave you advice. Listen, Mike's half retarded. He got shot in the head when he was 2." You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between that and like seeing the guy's written words. Like, it's the beautiful thing about the internet is that anybody can say anything. They can just that you have a full, open, free forum for expressing yourself. But the reality is, if you have 1 million people, okay, at least 1% of those people are going to be out of their fucking mind. At least 1%. So if you got 100 people, that's one person. But if you got 1 million people or 100 million people, look at the United States, 300 million people. How many of those people are out of their fucking mind? It's at least 3 million. At least. It's 3 million douchebags that are leaving comments on YouTube, and they're getting John Wayne Parr to talk about them.
Yeah.
And they're like, I was right. It was right. He could say it all you want. Your fucking technique's dog shit, bro. I don't know how you got to be a world champion, bro. Not on my watch. You ain't pulling that shit with me. I'll tell you what. That's what you're gonna get, man. It's the world we live in. It's a beautiful world, though. It's beautiful and it's chaos. And it's fun, but you gotta. I think we're all learning how to navigate this world, the world of comments on internet. Like, I have friends that won't go on the underground anymore. You know, fighters, they just won't go. They go, I can't. It hurts my feelings. Yeah. They go, I'll read what people are saying about me, and it hurts me. But it only hurts you if you don't know that. If you knew that guy, it wouldn't hurt you. You know, if you were around him when he was saying that, you'd be like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot with a typewriter. You get the type keys? Oh, okay, I get it. But you don't get it when you see just a sentence. A sentence, it looks like a normal person wrote that.
Diego Sanchez wrote on Twitter saying, you bagged me out, but I bet if we met in person, you'd be the first one to ask for my autograph.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
They would say that to him. Yeah. They talk all kinds of shit with him. How can you talk shit about Diego Sanchez?
Yeah.
That guy has given more people the most crazy, holy shit entertainment. Diego's had more fucking wild, chaotic filled rounds.
Yeah.
And wild moments in MMA. That motherfucker wins fights in the 3rd round. When he's losing the first 2 rounds, he's got his face hanging off, and he doesn't give a fuck, and he still comes out swinging. You have to be a real piece of shit to talk bad about that guy. Real piece of shit.
Diego and Melendez, that 3rd round was still that's still one of my favorite rounds.
How he dropped him with an uppercut in the fucking 3rd round after losing those first 2 rounds. Drops him, almost has him out. Same thing with Jake Ellenberger.
Took his back too. Drops him, takes his back.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude, Diego's a warrior. That guy's got my respect forever. He's so crazy. The Martin Kampman fight, same thing. First 2 rounds, losing. His fucking face is falling off in the 3rd round. He's chasing Martin Kampman down. It's crazy.
Yeah. You gotta respect warriors. It's
oh
cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there's a bunch of disrespectful shitheads out there, and just.
Do you think it's because of the with Muay Thai, for instance, we have a culture, and
Yes.
it's very Buddhism, and it's very Sawadee Cup and everything, the whole business of this and that.
Well, explain that means, what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Bow and put it. But for most of these people
for
are listening
ties,
to this.
ties,
They clasp their hands together in prayer.
Yeah, it's a way of showing that I'm unarmored. That's the original. Instead of shaking hands, the ties, and then the males aren't touching the females either. It's more of a.
It's a real humility and a real honest appreciation of each other.
And then so they have this century-old culture, whereas MMA is so tap-out ridden, Budweiser, just so the fans are. It's a different sort of culture. Do you believe it's sort of...
Well, that bro dude bullshit was frowned upon in Taekwondo. I mean, I grew up in Taekwondo, and which is very... I always spoke to my instructor. I called him Sir or Mister.
Yes.
It was either Mr. Kim or Sir.
Yep.
You know, when he said something to me, there was no question. It was always yes, sir. And there was this bowing respect type admiration that you had for your instructor and for fellow competitors. And that's a big part of what martial arts is this respect for each other. And on the other hand, I like the shit talking. I like what Conor McGregor does. I like the just bleed guy in the audience going, "Yeah." It's fun too, but I think you lose something where there's a beautiful respect to Muay Thai. And there's another thing about Muay Thai is the audiences are respectful.
Yes.
When you go to those events, like you very rarely hear stupid shit being yelled at.
Yes.
Even though people are drinking, there's applause for both the winner and the loser.
Yes.
There's a tremendous amount of respect that's involved in it because it's not that popular and because it's not mainstream. Those people in the audience have a deep appreciation for the art of Muay Thai.
Yeah, they're hardcore. They're there for a reason because they want to see it. It's not like it's on TV and they're just watching it for the sake of watching it. They're there because they want to be there.
Yeah, that's the only reason. It's not a scene.
Yeah.
It's like they're there to see Muay Thai.
Yeah, and then the MMA culture is just so.
Well, there's a lot of fucking posing and fake and just assholes and I mean, my friends. I'll get my friends tickets, you know, and they'll go to the fights and they'll sit beside some guys like, "Why does he fucking? I'm telling him." Do the fucking kick! I'm telling you, the people just yell out advice and they get drunk and they're stupid and they're posing because they're insecure, so they're drunk at these events and they're trying to pretend that they know more than the fighter knows. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the human race survives this era. I mean, I'm really hoping that this internet era enlightens us to our douchey ways and we just slowly but surely rise from the ashes of what we've created, but I don't know. When I read comments, I get confused. Listen, my brother, we just did 3 hours. We're out of time. It's already 9 o'clock. Crazy.
Holy shit.
This is the John Wayne Parr experience.
Mate, thank you
my
again.
brother, anytime, man.
Thank
Open
you.
invitation, please. My pleasure. Anytime. And next time in town, let's train some more. Let's do it again.
Yes, please.
A lot of fun. Let's do it. When are you going to be around again? You have any plans?
I'm talking to Hans. I'm talking to Scott Kent. Hopefully, I'll be back sooner than later.
Oh, fuck yeah. They have to have you back, man. And next time you come back, we'll make sure, probably try to get you in before, too, so people can tune in and know that the fight is coming.
Nice.
John Wayne Parr, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him on Twitter. John Wayne Parr on Twitter. CageMuayThai.com.
Cage Muay Thai, December the 5th. I'm fighting Cyrus. So, yeah.
Cyrus. Not Soros. Not whoever that other guy is that he invented. Cyrus Washington, Black Dynamite, should be a lot of fun. And can people watch that online or anything?
Yes, I'm going to have it'll FightLiveTV.com.
FightLiveTV.com. I will tweet it. I'll let you guys know about it December 5th. Thank you, my brother.
Mate,
I really
thank you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, be nice to each other. Bye-bye.